Hello and welcome back to the first ever all-encompassing Mario Kart Championship, where my three friends and I, with the help of others, compete against each other in every single game in the Mario Kart franchise, all 13 of them, all with the goal of determining who is the best overall Mario Kart racer. With us being 10 games deep and nearly 5 hours into the series already, there's too much to recap quickly. The lore is just too deep. If you're planning on watching this, I highly recommend you watch part 1 and 2 beforehand. References, jokes, player characteristics, and pivotal moments will all make more sense and have more impact if you watch at least one of those previous parts before this. With that being said, it's time to wrap this series up today with the final part, part 3 of the 13-game Mario Kart Championship. Hope you enjoy. Day 2 was a crazy one. 2 more handheld titles, 2 more emulated arcade titles, and our favorite game on the Wii. Countless ups and downs, countless memorable moments, and most of all, countless controversial events. After Day 2 wrapped, we again all went our separate ways back home, where we thought back on our performances, good and bad, and used what we learned so far to develop game plans for the final day. With how difficult it is to align 7 people's schedules, days went by, weeks passed, a month even passed. Officially 31 days after the second day, we found a Wednesday that worked for everyone. Once all heads were accounted for, it was time for some pre-game interviews with ya boy. Question number 1 was regarding their thoughts going into the third day. This is finally day 3 after nearly a month since day 2. What do you think the reasoning behind the pause is? People are scared to come back and play?
That could be a thing. We're also all adults with our own schedules, so that could be a factor. But yeah, probably just some pussy shit.
I'm fairly confident. I don't know if I'm going to win necessarily. Rogan's got a pretty good lead, but I think if he does really bad in a couple, I could come back potentially. But Tanner's also right behind me, so he could too.
How would you feel if you ended up 3rd place today, maybe 4th?
I'd be fine. It's not that big of a deal.
What's up with the lack of competitive nature with every game?
What do you mean? Like, why do I have to care that much? We're just playing Mario Kart, dude.
Some people would describe your score as an uncomebackable score. How do you feel about that?
I've said it from day 1, I'll say it again. Most slept on player, most overhated. I think I'm running the cleanest game out here. Do the math, I could come back.
That would require you getting 1st place in every race and everyone else getting dead last.
It's not impossible. Who do you think's got the biggest chance to win today?
I'm gonna say Rogan or Tanner.
You're in a weird standing today. You're at 439 points, only 3 behind 2nd place. You could maybe have a shot at the title.
Hold on, I gotta fart.
With us still not having the answers we were looking for, Rogan and Lucas and their super shady relationship was brought back up. Let's explain your job again. What do you do here?
I keep score and I do the things that nobody else wants to do because I'm a grown man.
How is it that 2 days in a row we get 2 people in the rankings 3 points apart? Do you think that's just bad accounting?
I think that's good sportsmanship, and maybe you should be thankful that the rankings are so close that this video will be remotely interesting.
You and Lucas have had several conversations off camera, and he's the scorekeeper. You want to explain that? You're in 1st place. A little coincidental, don't you think?
That is untrue.
Was there a money exchange?
No.
We have several clips from out on the field of you fumbling with the Sharpie, asking 3 times sometimes what the scores were. What's the likelihood that you shanked a couple numbers?
Non-existent. 0.
Lucas was seen erasing numbers and changing them once you whispered in his ear. What's going on there?
It's Sharpie. I'd like to see you try and erase a Sharpie.
He writes in pencil then Sharpie,
He writes the same number.
but he erased the pencil.
Do you watch him write in Sharpie?
I had it on camera.
So you can prove that he's writing the same
Why
number.
are you stumbling? What do you have to hide?
Nothing.
Lucas was seen erasing numbers mid-match. You want to speak on that?
Yeah, I heard him talking to Rogan about it the first night.
How would you feel if I told you to keep an eye on the numbers today, if you know what I mean? Keep close eye on Lucas and his text between Rogan.
I think I could get that done.
Who are you planning on living with soon?
Trey Hudson.
Interesting. Trey. I hear that name come up. And who's Trey live with right now?
Lucas.
Interesting connection. He's been talking to that kid nonstop. Back alley deals, handshakes, whispering, text messages. I heard he's even living with a close friend of his. The connections are honestly insane. Off the bat, the group had to address the day's first big controversy. The fact that we were starting at midnight. I'll have Lucas explain what happened.
One of the racers.
Name him.
don't make me do this. Yeah, so everything was going good until yesterday evening. Thought we had a plan in place. Start off early, knock out a game or two, watch a movie, come home, finish her out. But a meeting with a professor kind of threw a wrench in those plans.
Well, I mean, it's been no secret. I've been rooting for Tanner this whole time. But after that lame shit he pulled today, talking about how he has some meeting with a professor, all of a sudden he cares about school. I don't know what that's about.
What do you think's more important in the grand scheme, school or this tournament?
Obviously, this tournament. School will be there forever. This tournament's only happening now, so it's like I really don't know where his priorities are.
We had a planned meetup at 3 p.m. Tanner, out of nervousness, that's my guess, changed the time, scheduled over, forgot about his boys, and now we're filming almost the next day. And all I gotta say is, look at his position on the leaderboard and that'll explain why. Also, we went to see the new Batman film, and it was quite good. Do you think Tanner's not taking this tournament serious enough because he's an abysmal third place?
I think that's certainly reasonable to call into question. I mean, whenever somebody starts struggling in the rankings and then all of a sudden there's a meeting with the professor and you gotta question, is dedication to the tournament really there anymore? Or is he giving up on himself, and should I even have a reason to believe he can do this anymore?
You want to explain why this tournament didn't start 7 hours earlier?
We were at a movie. All of us. We were all at a movie.
We had plans for 3 o'clock playtime.
Playtime, motherfucker. Meet a play date.
Does Tanner have a reputation of backing out?
Off the grid? Yeah. On the grid, maybe.
What else does Tanner have to his name except for a third place in the biggest tournament of 2022?
I mean, I guess the girls like curly hair. That's about it.
Tanner wasn't the only name mentioned. Also discussed, not so positively, was Hudson, starting with his now past #1 supporter.
Hudson went from being the best at every game, his confidence at the highest levels it's ever been, and now he barely even showed up today.
To me, it just reeks of a lack of integrity. Fall from grace is never a good thing to see, you know? I'm on record singing the praises of that man, and we'll see what happens.
What are your thoughts on Hudson going from more confidence than anyone, first place every game, and now he's got a forgettable score that you're 3 points behind?
I'm creeping up on him. He's shaking his f***ing boots. Anywhere he goes, he's dripping sweat.
Even my name got thrown into the mix.
Jeff has a lack of allies out on the field. Do you think you could be the one to support him when he needs it most at 4th place?
Yeah, if he's not, being a slime lord the whole game, but...
Many people have analyzed Jeffrey and they say his gameplay is technically the most skillful. You want to speak on that?
No. Yeah, I think there is a lot of technique in hanging back and getting the better items for the third lap because everybody needs a blue shell third lap. So Jeffrey's very good at playing his position right. Jeffrey can only go up and the other players have written him off, so it's like he's not even a factor in their mind. So I think he can pull something out today, at least beat 2 people.
Do you think Jeffrey is the most overhated player?
I don't think he's overhated. I think he deserves hate. He gets to a degree.
What if you found out Jeffrey cried behind the scenes after every hate comment he received? Would it make you rethink how you treat him and how everyone else treats him?
No.
Discussions were also had regarding Rogan, mostly centering on his ongoing strange behavior.
After Rogan's poor performance in Mario Kart 7, we lost sight of him for a while. What do you think was happening?
He came back, eyes puffy, clammy hands. I don't know what's going on with him.
Behind the scenes, Rogan has been non-stop saying, I'm nervous for today, I'm nervous. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's annoying because he knows that he's in the lead and he knows that he's gonna do really good already and he's just being a little bitch about it, honestly. Like,
Rogan's on record several times off camera saying, I'm nervous for today. I don't think I'm gonna do well today. What are your thoughts on that?
Bro, low-key, it's a load of crap from him. He's like, oh, he's annoying, bro. He's trying to play the good guy now that he's 90 points out of everyone.
You're on record several times saying, and I quote, I'm nervous for day 3. What's up with the silent persona out in the field? Everyone's wondering what's going on in his head.
I just don't have much to say.
Rogan continues to be super silent out on the field. Do you think that's a successful strategy?
I mean, strong, stoic, sexy. I think that sums up Rogan's strategy. Look at the man. I mean, the proof's in the pudding.
Most players out on the field are pretty rowdy, having a lot of fun, screaming, and Rogan's silent every time. What is going on behind the scenes with that kid?
It seems pretty dark. Sometimes he just, he doesn't talk much. We were on the way home and he just dropped some things on me that I wasn't expecting to hear. I'm like a little taken back by it.
What do you think this new strategy is? It's the silent gameplay, it's the humble bragging non-stop.
Elaborate on that.
You elaborate on it.
When asking the group about the 7th member of the competition, Trey, the person who's been here the least, memories were foggy.
I don't even know who invited him. I don't know who that is. He's been talking to Lucas and Rogan a lot. They're all checking their phones at the same time. Rogan's stepping out, taking a couple calls. He's coming back. Attitude is a little different. So there's definitely something going on.
I don't know, dude. Is he here for like rogue, like emotional? I don't like who knows him.
Do you think he's a hired sabotager?
I mean, he passed all the background checks, so I don't think. But
You want to elaborate why you're here today?
I'm here to watch Jeff get his ass kicked.
Next, the group was then asked their thoughts on the day's games, first with Mario Kart 8 on the Switch.
You know, we'll see. I think I'll do really well in 8. It's the only Mario Kart game that I own, so yeah, probably I'll be okay in it.
Mario Kart 8 is a game I'm not confident on. It's honestly one of my weakest games. I think it's the highest chance of falling really far back in rankings. If you're in that 3rd, 4th range, you get hit with an item, it's game over.
We have one legitimate competitive title and then 2 fest, shank fest. Who the knows what's gonna happen? I like 8. 8's big colors, animations, 60 frames per second. It's entertaining.
8, it's not my favorite game ever. It's hard to get a feel for it. I'm not really the best at it, but hopefully it'll work out.
I'm looking forward to 8. I'm gonna go to that game, as everyone knows.
If you could script out how Mario Kart 8 goes.
So we know Rogue's coming out with the guns. Let him get in at first for a few laps, and then we gang stalk him for the last lap, and it's game over.
Then with the title on iOS, Mario Kart Tour.
Bro, I don't know. I've played it a little bit to get a feel, and it's very weird. Like, I honestly don't know how that's gonna work out. It seems very much like the character you pick determines like the items you get and shit, so that could be a major advantage.
The iOS one, very little experience. I think it's a little overhated. It's kind of fun. That's honestly a toss-up. Hudson, even though he's 20-something years old, plays a lot of iPhone games. I don't know why. And I see him on that game a lot. It's honestly embarrassing. So he might pull that win today. He desperately needs it.
iOS, I'm gonna have a fun time trying to record that on somebody's shaky ass hands. They're probably gonna be trying to steer it with their body and shit. It's gonna be a really good time.
Screen recording.
Oh, true, yeah.
The phone game, I think, is just luck, pretty much. Like, everyone goes the same speed. It's not really like, I don't know. I think there might be a thing with the characters. You can get a different amount of items per box. So if you get lucky, your character might be one of those that can get 2 or 3 items versus just 1, which is definitely an advantage.
And lastly, thoughts were shared regarding the final IRL title, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit.
I don't know about home circuit, that's gonna be a toss-up, but it seems sick as f***, so.
For home circuit, I think I have by far the largest chance of winning that. I have a couple hours of experience on it, at least 3 or 4, but I'm very nervous the location. It's gonna be the first time we have a location switch. It's gonna be at Tanner's place. There's been a lot of rumors about sabotaging, booby traps, purposeful misdirection. Once it's out of my place, I'm nervous. Have you set up obstacles to booby trap the other players that only you will know the way around?
Of course. Fire strikes, trapdoors.
It's a pretty simple floor plan, no matter which way you slice it. I hear there's an animal or 2 lurking around there. Who knows what can happen?
Could be a real life change on.
It's the wild west, yeah.
Home circuit, I think, is going to be a toss-up, pretty much. I'm not really sure about that one. Never played it multiplayer before, so.
Home circuit. I was in the remote control championships at Hobby Lobby, Pennsylvania, 2014.
Is this real? It feels kind of real.
Took home the silver with my Traxxas Slash 4x4. Lithium power.
For day 3, we had a plan.
I got a fart again.
Hmm?
I said I got a fart again.
Okay, start it.
It started.
Without further ado, time to crack out the Joy-Cons and Pro Controllers for game number 11. Just as the clock struck midnight, we all assumed our normal positions on the couch, with the boys tucked together and me back on the arm. Once the varied controllers were connected, Trey grabbed his classic drink of choice, and Lucas knocked it off with this sus shit. It was then finally time to tackle the day's first game. As many already know, this is not the first release of Mario Kart 8. That goes to the Wii U version released 3 years prior in 2014. Going into the championship, we thought playing both versions of 8 would be a little redundant. So we of course went with the more enhanced one on the Switch because it has way more content. Now there's too much to cover in terms of how Deluxe is different from the Wii U's 8, plus it's not super relevant, so instead I'll list off what 8 Deluxe brings new to the series, which is a lot. In terms of notable returning features, there's kart customization, optimization, the racer count is back to 12 instead of 8, double item boxes return from Double Dash, within the items, boos return, and so do feathers from Super Mario Kart, surprisingly. In terms of new items, we have the slingable 3-time use boomerang flower, the quick and chompy piranha plant, the force field-esque super horn, or boombox as we call it, or as Trey calls it.
Yeah, that thing's called the farter.
And lastly, there's the Crazy 8, an item nearly identical to the previous Lucky 7, but with an added coin. For new characters, there's quite a few. We've got some from Animal Crossing, some from Splatoon, Link from Zelda, and a shitload of Bowser's family members. As a quick side rant, I don't love the inclusion of the non-Mario characters. I think that's a slippery slope to start, and there's a ton of other possible in-universe characters that warrant a spot on the list over them, in my opinion. And come on, 7 Koopalings? When there's no Diddy Kong, Funky Kong, Paratroopa, Petey Piranha, DK Jr., Honey Queen, and come on, where's Wiggler? Well, he's sorta here. We'll get to that. I get not including Mameche, Rob, or Don-chan, but where is Birdo? Well, I kinda get her removal as well.
Birdo is also being added to Wave 4.
There are alternate costume characters and even some skin variants, but overall, I'm shaky on the roster. With those new characters, we of course get new sick looking karts, including now ATVs as a vehicle type, and including licensed cars, which are very uncanny to see a character within. Other new features include a 200cc speed option, a new mini turbo, a post-game highlight reel, and the biggest feature, anti-grav racing, which leads to very unique and interesting course design. Tying in with that is the new spin boosts, which can occur during the anti-grav portions of each map. Lastly, before we get into it, a few things you need to know in order to understand how racing is different here on 8 is number 1, falling off the map is basically not a thing anymore. With Lakitu's quick pickup, that element of the game is essentially gone. Number 2, the items you get here are more based on your proximity to first place instead of purely race position. This allows for sometimes better items and higher spots. And number 3, in our opinion, compared to all the other games, this has the worst downhill momentum, meaning if you get hit with an item around the 2nd to 4th position, you'll fly down the ranks way faster than any other game, almost every time. Just keep that in mind. With all that said, time to get going with the first race. While selecting the warm-up map, the group was already on edge.
Oh, we're playing on Jeffries and he has like no carts or anything.
Can I play Baby Daisy?
He's a bum.
You better have the moped, Jeff. No way he does. He has a moped. Yeah. Jeffrey been practicing.
I don't know the good cars at all. I don't know shit about A.
I have no idea what's going on. I'm sorry. I'm so on this shit right now.
Once Tanner selected his 3rd illegal daisy and the group finally chose their carts, Hudson noticed something.
Why are you guys always tryhards set up on the Wiggler? What is that on the Wiggler, bro?
No, it's a warm-up. It's a warm-up.
That's good.
What do you mean? Motherfuckers was playing the drive over. I don't want to hear it.
Who's playing the drive?
For those who don't know, the Wiggler is a notoriously slimy cart, which is exactly why the boys chose it. Anyway, we got started on the Moo Moo Meadows remake for the warm-up. Throughout the entire race, the toxicity was off the charts. Rogue, item holding every lap. Me, cucked by non-stop greens. First with Hudson, then with Link non-stop blocking me. And this was all while many secret side combos were had with the distracted scorekeeper.
You're talking about the Riley rap video?
No. We need collusion.
That's Eli's swag.
Right after Hudson finished with the first, Tanner was about to snag second until Rogue hit him with the red shell that he's been holding on to for the last 30 minutes. But even after that, he was struck with a last second blue. Well, sorta. The explosion actually didn't harm him. I think it was because it was confused with Rogue being first for a bit. Regardless, very strange occurrence. I then finished up with an embarrassing late 7th.
I'm a little rusty on the Pro Controller.
Here we go.
It was then time for the GP. While reselecting carts, Hudson again made his opinion clear.
Good. I don't even need the Wiggler. I'm not gonna stoop to that level.
Hudson then shared his thoughts regarding which cup to pick.
Anyone got an opinion?
The Star Cup is good.
What's the
Yeah,
ones
do
with the
the
most
Star,
unique exclusive maps?
Probably the Star. Mount Wario is really good.
Okay.
what characters in Mario would have had.
Mario?
Before we began on the Star Cup, I couldn't remember how I did on the previous race that occurred mere seconds prior.
What was the ranking on warm-up?
Earliest
First, second, third.
before you even
First,
went on.
second, third, fourth. Okay.
You gotta.
With us just about to begin, Lucas was still not focused, so I had to call him out.
Little sloppy on the scoreboard?
Yeah,
Little sloppy on the mind your business.
Yeah.
Game.
Did you just make a mark?
What's the better line? Under.
You wrote Rogan's first place already?
Race 1 took place at the bright and beautiful Sunshine Airport. Right away, red shells were flying. First from Tanner to Hudson, then from Rogan to Inkling Girl, then from Hudson to...
That just went straight to the back of the plane wheel, bro.
While making the first jump, Lucas threw this bold claim out there.
This game is like the Black Ops 2 equivalent.
Whoa, that's weak, bro.
Yeah, no, that's weak.
In terms of how it looks,
In terms of,
the conversation we were just having.
Oh, you're
Focus on the game. Focus on the game, bro.
In
Stop.
terms of
Focus
look,
on the game.
Black Ops 2 in terms of look?
Yeah, Black Ops 2 is like colorful and poppy.
Not nearly as
like
crisp.
the
Jeff, he's trying to distract you.
Yeah, true.
I told him to discreetly to focus on the
I see him
game.
talking to Rogue, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, you don't see Rogue entertaining. I have to say.
After that flub was when I started noticing Rogan being even more quiet than usual.
Rogan's on that
Rogan
mental
used to be
match
like,
shit right now, like
you're
cutting
in
corners at
cruise,
the precise angles.
Who wasn't quiet was Lucas, who continued his slander.
Shankville, population 4. Let's get that out there in the ether.
Population 1, Jeff.
The race carried on with Rogan taking a slimy shortcut, Tanner getting surprised by the plane,
Did the plane take off?
That was a jump scare.
and Hudson receiving several karma-induced red shells.
How many red shells?
I've gotten hit by 18 red shells, yeah.
Similar to Tanner on DS, after grabbing a mystery box, Hudson was hit with even more bad luck.
And they give me a banana with a ghost, that's cool. I'm in 7th place now.
After taking that same shady shortcut and finishing with a first, Rogue dropped this massive slime bomb on us.
I need to turn off smart steering, I forgot to do that.
Oh, you got
Wow.
After you win,
All memes aside, that is the slimiest thing Rogue has done so far. Here in Mario Kart 8, one of the new features that is meant to help new drivers stay on the course is smart steering, an optional training wheels-esque feature that assists with steering. Rogan obviously knew he had it toggled and knew to mention it only after he finished in order for it to still count.
Who on record got smart steering?
all of us.
I do.
We'll discuss that a little more in detail, but first let's check back in on the others. Tanner ended in second, which was about to be followed up by me in fourth until Hudson combined a ghost lightning dodge with a mushroom with the rogue shortcut for the fourth instead, leaving me with fifth.
You son of a bitch!
We then decided to watch the highlight reel before the next race.
No, I want to watch this.
You need to watch that.
That royally me.
I'm saying
Check this later.
Watch this tactical move.
Oh, that was epic.
Analyze the bike choice.
Was that new tech?
You know Rogan's dropping items last second. Even though it doesn't matter. Rogan will be in 7th, he'll hold it for 8th.
Before we got started on the mostly underwater Race 2 course Dolphin Shoals, we had to get to the bottom of the smart steering situation. As soon as Lakitu left, I tried to pause the game, which I struggled with.
Can you guys pause it and check?
What?
No, we can't. We can, but we'll be in the middle
Pause
of the race.
what? I'll pause.
Turn off the audio. That's not pause.
How do you do it?
Pause.
I don't know how to pause.
The plus button. That's a capture.
But after the capture faded, the truth was revealed. Not only did Rogue indeed have smart steering toggled, so did everyone else, except for me, which Hudson didn't realize.
Get it on record! Who's Yosh?
Me, it's off.
Was it on?
Yes, it was on. It was on for everybody.
I then later discovered that smart steering is identified by an antenna sticking out of your cart, which glows yellow when it's assisting. Again, you don't see one on Bowser. I won't be disqualifying anyone, I just want it known who's the cleanest driver out here. Once the others toggled off, Lucas tried to delay the game even further until...
Okay, are there gonna be any asterisks? Are there gonna be any asterisks? Wait. Okay, fine.
On lap 1, while riding on the back of the Malray, is where day 3's first crazy item interaction took place. It all started with me, in 4th with a red, which I threw at Tanner in 3rd, but he had a green which he threw at Hudson who was in front of him. The green shell connected first, leading to Hudson falling back, replacing Tanner in 3rd, but my red still got Tanner, which he was confused about.
How is it coming from me?
Because I got hit with something else.
Because I coded it for you.
This was all while Rogan, who even though was holding a banana, slipped on a stray fireball from Mario, who was way behind us. This big event occurred within less than a second and led to Mario passing everyone. After that and a few skilled bombings, one from me to Hudson and one from Rogan to Tanner, Lucas again was on my case.
In the summer, we got Little Caesars. Like, what the f am I talking about?
That's Shane place.
Jeff, how about you focus on the game, bro? You need it.
Why are you bashing me? You should be impartial.
I'm trying to be impartial by
I haven't heard Rogan come out of your mouth once.
because he's focusing on the game and it's showing in his gameplay. Where's it at from you?
That bullying just added to my down in the dumps attitude.
Bro, 9th place is a
Fucking
major game over. I'm trying to just not end on an embarrassing note. Just an okay note. See ya. Oh my god.
That's what we call an embarrassing note.
My complaints were seemingly heard because I was blessed with the championship's first ever bullet. With the finish coming up, Rogan snagged another first, which was about to be followed up by Tanner until again Hudson came in with a mushroom shortcut cuck, combined with Tanner slipping on Rogue's last second banana drop, leading to Hudson in second and Tanner third.
See ya!
I can't blame Hudson too much because I used the same strategy for myself as well, going from 7th to 5th last second.
I was gonna do
Yeah, he did.
Jeffrey.
whatever, bruh. I'm about to just start going backwards on the tracks and sabotaging.
It was then time to again watch the highlight reel.
Look at that. Rogan holding the banana behind him.
Oh! Yeah. That's Jeffrey.
Bruh. You know Rogan's hitting every trick, bruh. It's like slow down if you're first.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. That's the same finish as last time.
I think we should get blast past Tanner at the end.
Race 3 started with Lucas having the balls to call me out for being distracted.
Everyone ready?
Yes, Jeff.
You came out of nowhere.
That's my hated
I'm
It was Rogan.
You're the one having conversations with all during the race.
We then finally got going on the third map, Electrodrome. Despite the weird name, this is again another stunning map packed with unique visuals. The race began with Tanner attempting a little drive and drop on Hudson.
Yeah, for that one, Tanner. Right? Nice try on that.
As the race continued, we started noticing more and more how suspect Rogan's gameplay was.
You know Rogue's got 3 bananas around him.
You know he's keeping those till the end of the game. I think I saw Rogan messing with the HTML of this game.
Rogan's like, I insist, let me play my copy, please. I'm like, Rogan, why does this have a custom label, bro? Why does this say Mario Kart 8 V2?
Lap 2 had Trey on Savage mode.
I'm analyzing this gameplay, it's pretty clean right now.
I'm not watching your screen.
Damn, Trey.
I'm just being honest.
Too
Don't
real.
let it get to your head.
While cruising far ahead everyone else, Rogue again lived up to his blue shell magnet status. Following that was a salty Tanner, fed up with Hudson's red shell spamming.
Dude, how many red shells do you guys have back there?
No,
Be honest.
no, I'm telling you, that's
Be
how
honest.
game works, bruh. You fall in this middle zone, it's game over in terms of items.
The final lap found Trey a little distracted by Electrodrome's crazy visuals.
You see this guys working on the stream?
While making my way down the pink path, I shared my thoughts on the game so far.
This is like my least favorite Mario Kart. Hardest to control in my opinion.
What?
You played 64?
Immediately following that was Tanner hitting me with this green shell orbit obstruction.
Oh! Tanner, I got a little something,
Hey,
something
that's
for
gonna be
you.
in the highlight reel.
We're
I got a little something for you
We're
up there.
saying that.
Oh, what about it?
No, Tanner, did it work?
No.
The race concluded with Rogue again first, Hudson second, Tanner in a dicey fourth, and me in an even dicier sixth. With that being the fourth 8 race down, Hudson had had enough of the cracked Caterpillar cart.
Rogue, this is some slime.
You can tell Rogan.
You're using the Wiggler bike, bro. And
Rogue went on YouTube and looked up
What's the best bike plus tire
Yeah,
combination?
true. Look at Rogan's YouTube history and search results.
It was then time for another highlight reel.
This speaks for itself. Oh, Tanner.
That's a classic thing.
That's been in every clip.
I feel
There we go. Hudson, what are we doing here with it?
I'm sorry, brother.
Before race 4 commenced, I had to check to see if the boys were ready for the next game on iOS.
Everyone's phone's charged for the next one?
I don't want to do a tour. I'm gonna drop it on the terminal.
The final race began on Hudson's favorite map, Mount Wario, which happens to be another one of those single lap, several section courses like in Mario Kart 7. With this title being my worst performance so far, I had to make my thoughts on the game clear.
No, it's like now, and that's game. If you get hit with one item at this point, What's the point?
I like this map though.
Why you like it? You practice it?
Would you say you're well versed?
Section 2 wasn't much different.
Oh my!
What?
It's such
Tell me that.
a rip scallions on the score. It's like really.
It's just like really.
With the map layout?
10.
It's like, can we get a playtime amount with Rogan?
As we entered the final section, my commentary started falling apart.
How's it
Yeah.
gonna be constant double digits, bro?
How does it feel to be?
What?
Right before finishing the race, another blue shell was thrown, hitting not only Rogan, but Tanner as well. Despite that, Rogan cleaned up with another first place. The others didn't end on as high of a note though, with Hudson grabbing 4th, Tanner in 6th, and me, even after being blessed with another bullet,
It's about time on that. Bull isn't dick on this part.
combined with a lucky golden mushroom, I continued my rough streak with a 7th.
Rogan possibly putting the final
That's
nail in the coffin.
No, that's dead. There's no way we can catch up to Rogue now.
It's done.
All that was left was one more highlight reel.
Dude, I'm sorry. I can't do these try-hard Whittler bikes, bro.
No,
it's
every
so
clip is the same.
sweaty, bro.
Rogan
It's
is
so
known to defeat
sweaty.
because
So
he's-
mad, Hudson.
I'm not mad. It's just, I'm just disappointed.
Hudson, get good.
Now it's time to look at the scoreboard. Here are all the positions for Mario Kart 8. As you can see, absolutely god awful for me, but extremely good for Rogan, with him pulling off his second flawless, all first place finishes. When looking at Tanner, not too hot at all. And Hudson, decent, but nothing crazy. With those scores being locked in, Rogue secures an even more dominant lead. A lead that could be surpassed, but it ain't gonna be me. That's all I'm saying. After that complete shit show of a Grand Prix concluded, we decided to, like we did for day 2, combine the interviews with the next game's interviews to save time, which happened to take place at Tanner's house instead. So here's the questions relating to the races that just took place on the sleepiest, slimiest, potentially most sexual game yet. First question was regarding the players' thoughts on their performances.
Horrendous.
What were your rankings?
I don't remember. Bad.
I was happy with it. I think I did pretty good. It really depends on blue shells, honestly. And I only got blue shelled once or twice throughout the 4 races, so I was pretty happy about that. Got some good luck there.
I did okay. I mean, Rogan bent me over and took advantage of my supple asshole, but other than that, I did alright. I got seconds, so.
Is Mario Kart 8 the only Mario Kart you own?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think once we get to Mario Kart 8, I'm gonna win that.
I've seen Hudson get out of slumps before, so I think once Mario Kart 8 hits, it's gonna be first.
Hudson is good at 8, and I think that he'll do pretty good on that one.
I mean, I've never seen the dude play 8. Everybody's talking about how he's good at 8, so I mean, I'd like to see it.
We didn't really get to 8, and that's one of Hudson's strong suits.
It's the only Mario Kart game that I own, so yeah, probably I'll be okay in it.
A lot of hype going in that game and kind of lackluster performance when you said.
Yeah, well, Rogue was on the, he's looking up YouTube tutorials or something. He looked up what's the best bike/tire combo and just used that, and
You want to break down what was slimy about Rogan's kart choice?
he just picked the best one. I'm out here in the moped having a good time, and Tanner and Rogue are over there sweating their balls off.
Next, the group was asked their thoughts on the title.
I got it right when it came out on my sister had a Wii U. It was fun. I thought it was too easy at first compared to the other Marios. I don't know why, but playing with you guys recently, it seems like it's more RNG based than the other ones, and it used to seem super easy, like way easier than Wii.
I mean, it's pretty smooth, I feel like the items are a bit more crazy because you're getting like multiple items a lot and stuff, but I think the drifting feels fine, I feel like any other Mario Kart game really.
While on the topic of items, Hudson and his red shell spamming was mentioned several times.
Hudson has developed a reputation for red shell usage.
I was just about to say that for every highlight reel, it's Yoshi slinging a red shell. And he always does it, you're like jumping on a ramp, so you get hit in the middle of the sky, and then Lucky 2 taking his time getting you back up there.
You've become known for your very slime item usage, particularly red shells. Do you purposely stay in the 3rd, 4th, 5th range to only get those slimy items?
No, that's just the range that you're in, usually around 4th place, so that's the only time you really notice when you're getting hit.
You saying you're behind me then?
Yeah, and then I pass you and finish it first.
There's theories brewing that Hudson knows the correct placements. Around the 4th to 6th place, he chills there for the red shells.
I believe that.
just get better, I guess, Jeffrey, if you're really that mad about it. I mean, I know I red shelled you and then rocketed past you, and I know you're kind of butthurt about that, but I'm gonna use them. What do you want me to do? Just get an item and not use it? You know, it's part of the game and it happens.
Many conversations were also had regarding the potential alliance and overall shady nature of Lucas, Rogan, and Trey.
Last couple games, you've been seen conversating a lot with the scorekeeper, almost as if you were distracting him. You want to speak on that?
Truth was, I was making some jokes. I forgot he was scorekeeping.
You want to describe the whispers with Trey, the Venmo transactions with Rogan, the back alley handshakes with Tanner?
I told you not to bring that shit up anymore. I'll walk out of here.
There are rumors, confirm them if true or not. You live with the scorekeeper.
That's a fact.
You have access to the numbers after hours?
No, he keeps that shit on lock.
You claim that this new face of Trey, you've never seen him, don't know why he's here, but rumor is you live with him.
That's true. Not all roommates are best of friends, and we found kindred souls in each other during the course of this tournament.
We have Rogan suspiciously getting first out of nowhere. In the beginning, he starts rough. As the money deals start going on behind the scenes, he starts rising. Now he's first. We got this newcomer, Trey. No one knows him, no one's seen him, but there's connections with the scorekeeper, there's connections with the first place winner. I gotta question it. What's Lucas's role been throughout the tournament?
He's keeping score.
As the games continue, he's more and more vocal, and he's seeming to pick favorites. Do you think he should stay unbiased?
Of course. A lot of ones on Rogan's end, you know. And they've been hanging out recently. I don't really know what's going on. If it's like there's some other agenda. You know, Rogan hasn't been doing too hot, so this might just be something, you know, get his spirits up. Back going outside, eating meals again.
Do you want to speak on the alleged alliance of Reserved Rogan, Loose Lucas, and Tricky Trey?
Who are you, Dr. Seuss? I got nothing to say about that.
Questions were then asked relating to the no practice rule, mainly centering around first place Pransky.
With nearly every game we've played, there's rumors of you practicing, sometimes hours. You want to speak on that? It's one of the only established rules.
I mean, I've played the games before. I don't actively practice them for the tournament, but I do play them if I want to play them.
The amount of side conversation Rogan has with everyone, it's like, hey, do you want to practice 8 before the tournament? Hey, do you want to practice 7 before the tournament? It's just like the allegations, the rumors.
The gaslighting.
Rogan remains silent out in the field, barely talks, but always does well. Is that the key to the success? No talking?
For some people, you know. I mean, obviously Rogan's on his game in Mario Kart all the time, but he's being extra quiet tonight.
I haven't played one game of practice. Any gameplay out of the tournament has been purely for recording reasons, technical reasons, making sure I got the wires, the charging cables, the correct capture cards, the correct devices. It's just like when you do the math of Rogan, hundreds of hours, Tanner, hundreds, Hudson, hundreds. If you look at my run times, my amount played, it's measly minutes. These have been some of my first Mario Kart games ever, you know, which showing my 4th places. I have little to no experience on a lot of these games. Double Dash, I played maybe 2 or 3. Wii, 3 or 4 maybe. That's all But it's like, I'm trying my best, you know? It's like, sorry, I don't practice, I don't break rules. Isn't it a little odd you're first place and you own every single game? Almost as if you bought them for the tournament practice? Rogan, with his tutorials, with his hours of practice. I mean, not enough people are talking about he owns every single game. He owns all of the games.
Yeah, that's a big advantage.
Rogan's got a reputation of slime item usage. You want to describe?
What can I say? I mean, I'm just as annoyed by it as everyone else. We'll have a race with 8 people and this guy will be in 3rd place holding on to 3 bananas. It's like, how hard are we trying here? Like, are we having like guidelines or is this like going on YouTube or?
Then finally, the group was asked to share their thoughts on me, which produced mixed responses.
During this entire tournament, you've been behind the camera, you've watched the gameplay, you've watched all the interviews, and you've noticed the theme of the Jeff hatred. Do you think it's warranted?
At this point, I don't think so. I think there's too much slime and collusion going on behind the scenes. So at this point, I don't think it's Jeffrey's fault that he's in 4th.
During Mario Kart 8, you were non-stop harassing Jeffrey, almost singling him out. Why no hatred towards anyone, especially like maybe Rogan?
I give people what they give me. He didn't really seem interested in the race at hand. It's not like he was cruising in 1st place, exactly. So if he's not going to focus on the game or even act like he cares, I don't know why I should care about being the one to call him on.
Lucas, I mean, they call him Loose Lucas for a reason. The scores are all over the place. I can't tell you how many times I've had to repeat, I'm first, Lucas, I'm first. You've got to mark me down. And then when I look at the scoreboard, it doesn't reflect it, so.
One thing I've noticed is every time, as soon as the race stops, whether Rogan is first or he's last, Lucas will, Rogan, what'd you get? Rogan, what'd you get? It's never Jeffrey, what'd you get? Ever.
The hatred for this entire tournament seems to be on Jeffrey. Is it deserved?
Maybe like 30%.
Tanner has continually changed his look. It's almost as if he's trying to conceal his identity from the embarrassment.
Everybody else was locked in, focused, weren't saying a word. When I urged Jeffrey to focus in the game, maybe considering his lackluster placements, he seemed like he doesn't want to keep talking, so I indulged him.
When it comes down to it, it's the scorekeeper. I mean, when you look at the gameplay, I mean, we know who won.
But doesn't the gameplay showing you coming in last place?
I occasionally play as Yoshi. We've switched off. When analyzed, Jeffrey's gameplay is viewed as technically the most skilled. Would you agree?
Bro, where are these analytics coming from? Cited from where?
There's numbers.
Motor Trend?
Would you agree with the assessment that technically...
Top Gear?
So, unlike the other players, when Jeffrey gets lucky with his items, such as a blue shell or a couple reds in second or third, he'll use the blue shell on himself, or he'll keep the red shells and never even put them in his little circle thing, so they're just sitting in the top left. He doesn't even touch them.
Use the word heroic and also use...
Jeffrey's a better player in his morals because I've noticed that when Rogan will get frustrated and Jeffrey has a bullet belt in his arsenal, he will wait for a lightning strike to come to waste it, just to get rid of this line. It's honestly, it's heroic, it's admirable, it's responsible, it's commendable.
Take Mario Kart, the game of morals.
Winding back the clock to right after 8's final race, it was time to get off the couch and prepare for the first and last title on the iPhone.
Should we do 4 iPhones just sitting at the table? We'll do it like we did the Game Boys.
Rogan's done.
Why
Film the
can't
iPhone
we just
screens
sit-
when we're just screen recording.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh my god, whatever.
Game number 12. A game that does a lot different. Also a game nobody has supposedly played much of. Also a game that was thought to be a lighthearted and quick to crank out title, but oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. It nearly brought the championship to a premature end. Welcome to the near friendship ending title on mobile. Now before we dive balls deep into the massive amount of content present in Mario Kart Tour, the incoming toxicity needs addressed. As soon as the boys set back up around the coffee table, Tanner and Hudson caught me off guard with this change of plans.
Council came to a conclusion.
Green
We're
screen.
doing home circuit another day.
Yeah, let's just do it.
Oh, we're not doing home circuit another day.
Yes, we are.
Why not?
No way, bro. This took a month to film.
It's one race.
It's one race. We're gonna have to go and set up everything.
No, bro. We're not moving back home
Yes,
circuit.
we are. It's my house, bro.
Now, I'll save you from the next 10 vibe-killing minutes, but the gist of the argument was, even though Tanner pushed the playtime back several hours, he wanted to cut the day short because he was tired and instead wanted to reschedule a 4th day just for home circuit. Hudson was also on his side and was quite vocal as well.
We're already gonna film like separately for like the trophy shit. Then why not just do them on the same day?
I'm not gonna agree with it no matter what.
As you heard, I was not pleased with this idea and it turned into a decent argument.
Yeah, I don't want to kill the vibe. It's just like, from my perspective, it's fucking hard.
The rest of the boys were more neutral, but all sort of leaning on the we're too tired side. Long story short, a solution was not found immediately, but we all eventually calmed down, updated our apps, started our screen recordings, all while Lucas checked his hair and Trey kept sipping those Smirnoffs until we were finally ready for one of the most bizarre games in the series. On the surface, this game looks to be a simplified, dumbed down version of Mario Kart, which it is, but it's easily one of the most complex with how much new and different stuff it brings. The game's name, Tour, centers around the idea of the races all taking place in different cities like a tour. Also, every 2 weeks, since the game's launch I might add, there are new in-game events going on called tours, which each have a theme, a content spotlight, and sometimes new courses, carts, drivers, items, and various cosmetics. First, with the courses. Like I said with the tour idea, most of the original maps here are themed after big cities, but most of the over 100 courses are comprised of older, remastered tracks from every mainline title. If that wasn't enough courses, most tracks have the normal version, but also a reverse version, which is just the track backwards, then also a trick version, which is the normal plus ramps for additional tricks, and then also a reverse trick version. Some of the older maps even have a remix version, which uses the map's same look and feel, but with a brand new layout. Counting all those variants, there's over 400 courses here. How insane is that? Next, with the carts. With every new title, we of course get new sick looking carts, and this is no different. I've compiled some of my favorites here. A lot do return from the previous titles, but many are brand new. Overall, it's a respectable variety. When it comes to items, as you would expect, there's a ton. New and old. Special items even return here, similar to the ones in Double Dash, where certain characters have access to exclusive items. The new items include the Bubble, a force field item reminiscent of the Magic Ball in DX. Then there's the Ice Flower, an item similar to the past Fire Flower, but freezes opponents instead. The Hammer, a Tomahawk-style projectile. The Dash Ring, thrown circles that give a speed boost to whoever goes through it. There's the Super Bell, a 3-time shockwave sender. The Capsule, a bouncy pill projectile. And then the Mushroom Cannon, Banana Barrels, and Coin Box, which each spray their respective item. There's also 3 new Bob-omb variants, the Double Bob-omb, the Giga Bob-omb, and the Bob-omb Cannon. Now, what's really worth talking about here is the beefy character roster. The roster that contains over 200 characters, with the new inclusions being Peachette, Paulina, Hammer, Boomerang, Fire and Ice Bros, Charging Chuck, Dixie Kong, Nabbit, Captain Toad, Kamek, King Bob-omb, and Monty Mole. Several old boys return as well, including, to my surprise, Donkey Kong Jr. And he's pixelated. How awesome is that? There's also a ton of color variations and costumes. There's just so many options. For brevity's sake, here on screen are a bunch more cool aspects of Mario Kart Tour. There's just not enough time to get into everything. Here's also all the more hard to explain quickly aspects of the game, mostly relating to the confusing progression system and slightly manipulative currency pay-to-win system in the game. I know it's a lot, but here you go. Honestly, the only thing you really need to know is this is a Mario Kart controlled by your finger, or gyroscope if you choose, where you race against only 7 other racers on simple, wide courses that contain a ton of invisible walls. That's really it. Now that you're sufficiently knowledgeable on the title, let's get back to the competition. In order to play local multiplayer, I started a lobby with a passcode. Once joined, everyone's usernames were exposed. Rogan went as the default player, me as my often used gamertag Earlober, Tanner as Tanner++, and Hudson as the surprisingly allowed Big Hooters. Now, if this game wasn't already controversial enough, when picking characters, everyone had their main as an option, except for me.
Do you even have the right character, Jeffrey?
You have Dry Bowser. Right, Dry Bowser has like the best ability.
Yeah, that's true.
Like Jeffrey's already at an advantage because he's using Dry Bowser and
Yeah,
got a
right.
big show.
You're
You're gonna have like
I don't have
advantage.
Bowser unlocked.
I gotta unlock him then.
Bro, it's a lot of pay to win.
I know.
Once the crowd accepted my close enough Koopa cousin character, it was time for the warm-up, which took place for the second time on Maple Treeway, the first map in the Cat Peach Cup, only chosen because we were unaware of how the game worked and selected a cup at random, with 6 races set so we could play all 5 in a row. But as I later realized, with the short Grand Prix Cups, the last 2 courses actually took place on the Baby Rosalina Cup, as if it mattered. Right away, we noticed a few of Tour's weird qualities, like there being 2 item slots, every item can be held behind you, aka Rogan's wet dream. The bots you race against can be variants of the ones you choose, like here, Later Hosen Luigi, which you can imagine gets confusing. Each race only has 2 laps, and you're able to either play portrait mode or landscape with different control options as well. Our inexperience led us to know none of this, which wasn't a huge deal besides the fact Hudson and Rogue chose landscape and Tanner and I portrait, which for recording reasons was not ideal. Anyway, the race began with Tanner not feeling the controls.
This is so whack.
It's pretty smooth, actually. I don't want the button drift. I feel like this is pretty clean.
Sometimes you'll be like, the sky's blue, and John will be like, nah, it's green.
An iPhone game,
real.
I'm surprised how smooth it is.
What's it comparable to?
Probably like one of the DS games, maybe.
My fresh shaved balls. Too real.
Overall, the race wasn't too notable, with us still being a little salty from the argument. The race mostly consisted of Rogan and Hudson up front, and Tanner and I in the back, with me struggling more than him.
Whoa, when you go over that cutscene, it's not actually a cutscene. You can get hit with items. Bro, I'm dead last.
You're like, this game's smooth.
I know, yes.
The race finished up with Rogue first, Hudson second, Tanner third, and me, technically a DNF 8th. It was then time for the Grand Prix, starting with the trick version of DK Summit from the Wii. In order to break the still lingering tension, Trey sparked up a combo relating to the recently released Yay documentary.
Jimmy, did you think the most Def scene was like really inspiring?
Yeah, that scene like where Connie gets really into the lines.
We don't have to talk about it here, but
Jeff entertains the side combo so quick.
I've been playing like dog shit right now.
With these races being only 2 laps, they were quick. The end of lap 2 had Tanner looking like he had the win, until Rogan successfully landed a red, officially killing that possibility. After that, Rogue then finished with the first instead, leaving Hudson, Tanner, and I to fight against the many bots also in the snowy halfpipe. Hudson then dropped this odd statement, despite having the best item in the game.
There's no way I can even catch up now.
That last second handout led to Hudson in third, only because all that was left was Tanner and I, who also got passed several times, leading to him in 6th and me in another 8th. The first non-warm-up 8th since 11 games ago with Tanner's 3rd race on Super Mario Kart.
In 8th place, I got past my positions.
I got
6th.
you act like that doesn't happen to you every game.
This one's weird, Brad.
Yeah.
Bro, I was first into the last 100 meters and Rogue hit me with a shell.
I'm sorry.
This game's performance, combined with the previous one as well, had us all nervous about Rogue.
Rogan's playing for next
I
time.
know. Rogan's on virgin mode out here with the stats.
Rogan's on
I know, yeah.
Race 2 of the GP had us on an old familiar face.
Let's just do this.
Dude, are we sure?
No!
Yoshi's Circuit is not a crowd favorite because of its insane amount of corners, but we were happy because at a quick glance, we thought they simplified the layout.
Oh, it's this map, Brad. This map with iOS. Do you see
Oh,
that?
yeah, this map.
Oh, they simplified it. It's way
Yeah, I don't
shorter.
like
Yeah, this one
it.
looks like an 1/8 of the turns that's in the double dash one.
Yeah.
Brad, they curved him down.
On lap 1, while drifting through the tunnel, was when it hit me that Double Dash's special items were back.
You know there's the giant Bowser shells in this game? From Double Dash?
Yeah.
Rogan knows everything about this game.
I know, yeah. Rogan's a contributor to the wiki.
Rogan's a Patreon.
Lap 2 had Julian giving his 2 cents.
Jeff, you were at Shank City over
Yeah, it's dog water at this game.
Jeff grew up there.
When nearing the finish, Rogan pulled off a successful green on Hudson. Then, like in race 1, Hudson dropped this strange comment despite having, again, great final stretch items.
Rogue's about to win because he just hit me right at the very end.
That shell shutdown led to Hudson grabbing the first just barely before Rogue, who followed him up in 2nd. Tanner then finished with a 3rd, then me right behind him in an alright but overly clowned 4th.
Jeffrey was in Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Corruption.
It was then time for race 3 on the trick version of Luigi's Mansion from the DS. This time we were joined by one of the craziest character variants in the game, Pastry Chef Shy Guy. The race started off like race 1, with Trey being way off topic.
It's actually this liminal space pick I took.
Most Trey sense I ever heard.
While racing through the ramp-filled rendition of one of our most nostalgic maps, Lucas was still thinking about that earlier comment made regarding my hometown.
I think I sent some equipment from work to Shanksville. Like literally. There's a town called Shanksville.
Where at the USA?
Yeah, I want to say it's Virginia. Shanksville in the Virgin State. Yikes. Pennsylvania. Population of 237 people in Shanksville. Damn.
They're all related to Jeff.
Yeah.
They're his family. It's a closed society.
Lap 2 had us discussing Rogue's rather suspicious gamer tag.
Player, bro.
Yeah, true. I'm scared to use your real name.
Yeah, dude, he's just trying to be unassuming.
Low profile rogue.
Yeah, true. I was about to say it fits the character.
He's gone rogue.
When entering the swamp for a second time, Tanner witnessed how truly on rails Tor's driving can be.
But I just got abducted into
Dude, to Shanksville? You just met Jeff's family?
fucking earlobe.
Okay,
already.
Soon after Tanner's abduction, the crowd was hit with a lightning, which slowed the group down before the finish, except for me, who used a mega mushroom at the perfect time, causing my size to neutral out. That combined with rather clean driving had me looking like a first place, until Hudson, like he did several times previously, used an item near the finish.
And take Matt Ellis from Yoshi over here. Just
So
pass
I'm
me.
getting passed,
Just pass me.
now I'm getting
Well, yeah,
first
you
place.
hit me with the freaking.
Yeah, you hit me with the. I got third.
As you can see, Hudson ended up with the first, with Rogan in a slimy third, me in an undeserved fourth, and Tanner right behind me in fifth.
Jeff, what do you?
I was at first, but now
Okay,
fourth.
well, fourth.
Let's do a replay of the Hudson red shells. Every Mario Kart 8 highlight was Yoshi hitting someone with a red shell.
Literally.
Yeah, you were fourth.
Fourth, yes.
Not first. That was like what
That's
used to be.
dodging,
Right?
Just mark it as one, and I'll remember to change it to four later.
The final race then took place on almost another repeat map, but this is Ghost Valley 1 and it's the Trick remixed version. To round out the final batch of new bots, this time we're joined by the dopest character in the entire game, Gold King Baba. The race started off with Rogue doing his normal bullshit,
Rogue will hold any item behind him,
I don't even
even
know
if
what
it's a
you're
good
talking
one.
followed by Tanner reminding Hudson he still hasn't forgotten.
Okay, you Peach.
Yeah, let's pay back.
Rogue, any
what?
item,
I don't even
even
know
if
what
it's a
you're
good
talking
one.
Bro, do I need to list them out?
No.
The bombs and DS.
Oh, okay, fair enough,
unforgivable.
fair enough.
On lap 2, while I was getting some payback on Rogue and Hudson, again Julian and Trey kept up their harassment.
Well, that's the shortest
Fuck
bullet
you,
ever.
dude.
It put you to second, bro. Calm down.
Well,
Jeffrey, you've never even been in second tonight.
The race was one of the quickest yet, with the positions ending with Hudson and Tanner in a photo finish second and third, followed by Rogan in fourth, and me, again, not doing well at all, with a sixth. Now it's time to look at the scoreboard. Here are all the positions for Mario Kart Tour. As you can see, my performance was the worst yet of anyone's up to this point. Tanner as well did not perform too hot, with him grabbing several low places. When it comes to the others, this was a rather mid performance from Rogan, who rarely snags anything below third. And for Hudson, he technically did the best, but 2/3 is nothing to write home about. With these Game 12 scores in the books, it's looking pretty good for Rogan going into the final game. But with Tanner and Hudson being roughly 20 points apart and not too far away from first, I don't think they should be counted out just yet. Almost immediately after the race, the vibes were better, with the group finally coming to a decision.
I'm down to
Say happens last.
if the vote's not, I mean, I don't want to go against the vote. It's a nightmare to say that.
I just want to play something better than this.
It's literally the last ones. Bang it out. We good.
That's what I'm saying. Well,
Bang,
I think
bros.
we got it.
All that was left was to hear the scores to get an idea where everyone stood.
3-1-1-3. Rogan got 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 8, 4, 4, 6. Right.
Bruh, yeah.
Question number 1 was regarding the group's thoughts on their performances and the game in general.
It went okay. I wish I did better, but I'm happy with the results.
I might have a shot because like nobody has really played it, but it was just an L. Got bad placements.
We just finished with Mario Kart Tour, a game that you debatably have the most experience on. Describe your performance.
I did good. I had like, I think 2 first places, so.
How would you describe it?
Weird, loosey-goosey. Considering there's literally no buttons, like you just feel so disconnected from like actually doing what you want your character to do.
Do you fall off a lot?
You don't fall off at all.
I mean, it's like a mobile game, so it's not. It's also like definitely like depending on what character you have, you're gonna win. Like some of the characters have like different abilities that are like way better than others. But I don't know. It's okay for a mobile game. It's just not great compared to the other ones, you know.
I was surprised on how smooth it looked. It almost looked as good as the TV, like watching you guys' phones.
There's been a lot of rumors of you playing Tour more than normal. Some would say practicing. Don't you think you're a little old for playing mobile games?
No, old people play like Candy Crush and shit, bro. They're addicted to that shit. I don't know, dude. Old people are always playing like those Bejeweled games or whatever. it's keeping my brain active.
The group was then asked again about the continued collusion surrounding Lucas, Rogan, and Trey.
There's been a lot of back alley deals, handshakes, whispers on the sides, neck smooches. There's been connections made with a trilogy or a team, an alliance of Rogan, this newcomer Trey, and Lucas. What is Trey's role in this? We don't know who he is, we don't know what he's doing, but all we know is he's connected to those two.
I mean, I don't know. Trey, you've been passed around. You know, we've all made some deals in this tournament. You know.
You want to speak on that?
Nope.
I've been asking every player, and they've been analyzing you out there, and all they have to say is dicey on the numbers.
I told you to stop bringing that shit up, man. My numbers are clean.
Lucas has a certain twinkle in his eye when he looks at Rogue, especially when he gets those first place finishes. I think Lucas really likes that.
People say your persona, your character of the silent, some call you reserved Rogan. You want to speak on that?
I mean, I don't really have much to say.
When switching locations, we had to bring the scoreboard outside, and it's raining outside. Lucas brought up, the board might get wet, the scores might be scrapped. Do you think he wants to rewrite history, rewrite the scores?
See, that's where the timelines don't mix up, because if that would be the case, that would be bad for Rogan because he's already in the lead. So I think this might be like some sort of red herring to try and throw us off, which Lucas is a smart guy, so I wouldn't put it past him, but we're on his ass.
You want to play back the scene right before we left and it was raining outside? You made a comment about the scoreboard?
Yeah, as a scorekeeper, and I have been doing my job well and accurately, I was concerned for the scoreboard given the weather outside. It's a bit rainy. I just wanted to throw it out. You know, if I was trying to fudge the numbers, would I be bringing attention to something that I would be doing that could be fudging the numbers? Like, what's the logic here? I'm sorry, I'm not following. This has been a narrative that's gone the whole time, and I think it's gone a little bit too far.
You kept bringing it up and kept bringing it up about this rain, about the lost potential points, about the reworking the entire tournament. Everyone kept saying, Lucas, why are you bringing it up? Why are you bringing it up?
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Am I the person who can't keep numbers straight, or the mastermind that's working behind the scenes? I'm having trouble following.
You're on camera saying, I actually don't have that on camera.
Thoughts were then shared regarding the final IRL title, Home Circuit.
Mario Kart Home Circuit, the final game, is the only one that's in real life, hence being the only one that really matters. So if Jeffrey does well in this, do you think he deserves a trophy?
Easily. Yeah, in my book, since this is in real life, nobody's ever touched this game. This means way more than any tournament, any game. It means more.
Do you think this is going to be close going into the final game?
Well, I did think that, but Mario Kart Tour kind of f***ed everything up.
You know, I don't know. I think this one's anyone's game. It's not like, it's different because, you know, they're real cars. I just tried it and it's not as easy as it looks. I think anyone could win this one, to be honest with you.
There's rumors of a potential animal being an issue during the race. You want to speak on that?
No, she's locked up.
As we speak right now, there is practice going on for the final game, Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. Do you think this is fair? Do you think this gives them an advantage?
Concerning, but I think I'm going to stick to my job and just keep the scores.
There were so few rules set up for this tournament, yet every single one of them's been broken. Just before this interview, there was mad practice going on for the last game.
We were playtesting.
Because of Rogan's continued non-confrontational answers, I pressed him a bit.
When you view Jeffrey's gameplay, what are the first three words that come to mind?
Trash, low, skill.
When I asked that same question about your gameplay, everyone had the same three words. Slimy, illegal, and dicey. Do you think that accurately fits your gameplay?
I don't know about illegal. I don't know about slimy, but dicey, yeah, sometimes.
Hudson's been having some pretty rough words for you during his interviews. What do you think of him as a person, not connecting to Mario Kart at all?
Trash.
Who got the real grilling was me, who had the entire group in the room to deal with during the interview.
Jeffrey, how does it feel to be the villain of this tournament?
I wouldn't say villain, I'd say unsung hero. Hudson, you started at the top and you're debatably at the bottom.
What do you mean debatably? You're definitively at the bottom, Jeffrey.
I think people underestimate the production element that goes into it. My mind's somewhere else, and gameplay is the last thing I'm worried about.
You don't think that's an excuse?
That shows really clearly.
So this tournament was your idea. Do you regret doing it since you're in last place?
I don't regret
Quite
it.
a lot.
I don't know how I would define a lot. I don't regret it. I think I've proven some points. The whole intention behind this was to show the slime that goes in behind the scenes. The reasons why I don't win, you know? It's non-gameplay related reasons. It's personality issues, it's communication issues, it's money deals, it's some illegal shit. I mean, when it comes down to gameplay, it's obvious who's supposed to be winning, but I mean, I'll let the gameplay speak for itself.
Some would say, since you're the host and the administrator of this tournament, a lot of these rules and things you're talking about being broken and different situations that you feel like have played out unfairly for you. Some might say that these were kind of preconceived excuses because you were anticipating a bad outcome for yourself.
No, when it boils down to it, I don't want to be first place in a tournament where I'm hosting it. It looked bad, and then I thought about it, it's like, if I don't come in last, then every person below me is going to be like, take the video down, I'm embarrassed. And I'm like, I'll take the L, I'll take fourth, just so I don't have to have all my friends hitting me up, you know.
So what you're saying is that the tournament lacked competitive integrity because you weren't giving it your full effort the whole time.
Interesting allegation.
Plus, how do you explain all the times you lose outside of the tournament?
I think a big reason behind my lack of success that many people aren't really analyzing is I don't use Bowser. His stats are crazy. His weight is all unbalanced. His carts are some of the worst in the game.
But that was your idea to pick the same character for every game you had. Do you regret that decision? Or?
There's not much I could do. There's only so many options for characters that are in every game. But I just want to have it let known that changing the character would have been a different situation.
The only one who truly understood my master plan was my tried and true cameraman.
Many are confused of Jeffrey's poor performance, but others view it as a way of boosting his friends up, giving them a chance in the spotlight. Would you agree with that assessment?
That's exactly the way I see it. When we're playing off camera, it's first after first after first. So it's very admirable that he would let his friends come and do better than him in his own YouTube video. So you gotta respect it.
If you could use one word to describe Jeffrey and the way that he supports his friends, what would that
Noble.
be?
It's gotta be noble.
With that brings the time you've all been waiting for. The final game of the 13-game Mario Kart Championship. Say goodbye to the apartment that you've become so accustomed to because it's time to set up at Tanner's and finish what we started. The time has finally come. You've waited hours and hours to see this competition come to an end. I now present to you the final title in the 13-game Mario Kart Championship. Mario Kart Live Home Circuit is not only one of the coolest, most unique Mario Kart titles, but one of the coolest, most unique games of all time. Instead of the standard format of a Mario Kart game, the people over at Valon Studios made one of the most innovative video game experiences ever. If you're not familiar with this game, Home Circuit is a title where, instead of buying a game, you purchase one of two real-life remote-controlled cars themed after Mario and Luigi that are each equipped with a camera that allows for Mario Kart racing in a setting of your choice. The game provides you with cardboard gates and directional arrows that are meant to be set up anywhere you want, in any way you want. Then, using the mounted camera, you scan each of the 4 gates, which then creates a course you get to race within, either with friends or against bots. Now at first, this premise might seem cheesy and super gimmicky, but it works way better than you'd expect. Surprisingly, most aspects of a Mario Kart game are present here. The ability to use items, the ability to change your CC speed, and the ability to race within Grand Prix cups. Most items work as they do in the normal game, usually just by temporarily speeding you up or down, and or displaying some on-screen effect. The way the items feel, combined with your digital character running into walls or carts, combined with augmented reality style visuals for the gates, combined with just how well the RC cars work on most surfaces, leads to a very immersive real-life Mario Kart experience. The items present here are all ones we've seen, with the most notable one being the Chain Chomp, which makes its return from 9 games ago in Double Dash. A few things worth noting is there are several playable characters, but we only played as variants of Mario and Luigi because the others are only available in a different mode. The available carts in this game work the same as the characters, with them just being skin switches. There also isn't any customization here like the previous games, unless you count the varied horn options. Like I said with the speed choices, our normal 150cc is here, as well as 200cc and mirror mode, but we didn't have any of that unlocked, so we had to go with 100cc's. You wouldn't think so, but yes, there are GP cups here. How they work is the gates receive a unique in-game look combined with a filter applied to your screen, along with occasional in-game background objects and hazards. We didn't end up racing within the themed GP cups though. Instead, we did several custom races which you can choose to be just plain. Like I mentioned with the bots, here the racer count is only 5. 4 of which can be players, with the last optional slot being one of the various Koopalings. Overall, Mario Kart Home Circuit is a one-of-a-kind game that, despite being way more work to set up and play than the other titles, we couldn't not include it in the championship. Going in, I was the only one with a fair amount of experience, so while I was busy setting up, the others toyed around with the game a bit to get a feel for it. When ready for the warm-up, we threw together a nice and easy circle layout to start. Rogan was then put in charge of inputting the course's design. The way that's done is once you have the 4 required gates in positions you like, you alert Lakitu that you're ready to paint the course, meaning you slowly scan each gate in order, which then locks in the track's design. That design is then shown via a mini-map in the corner, which is such a sick feature. Rogan then had to choose the lap count, which instead of the traditional 3, because of our limited space of the room leading to small quick laps, we decided 5 laps would be better. Once locked in, our setup was Tanner, Rogan, and Hudson playing off 3 switches in handheld mode, and me recording gameplay on my laptop using the Elgato playback feed for my screen, using only one Joy-Con. Before we started, Julian and Trey were assigned to camera duty, and Lucas's sole job was to pick up and fix any cart that got stuck on the track during the races. Phew. With all that said, it was warm-up time. After positioning ourselves in the starting spots, the race commenced. Right away, the slime was, wait. I'm gonna cut to the chase here. We scrapped all of these races. Now, I know, this is a championship first, but this set of races was sloppy. Nothing was going right. The course designs were lame, the camera work wasn't great, the group was too distracted, we stupidly chose the GP mode for a race, so the annoying filters were on, but most of all, we only had one screen recording, and it was abruptly stopped after the first official race. Plus, there was a bunch of race redos because of the game's most annoying aspect. When you miss a scan, you're instantly last. That happened quite a bit, especially with Lucas not 100% understanding how the scanning feature works, thus placing us too close or too far away from the gates, leading to a bunch of laps to not count. Don't get me wrong, some crazy moments occurred, some cool shots were captured, fun was definitely had. We could have even made it work with what we had recorded, but we gotta end this thing off with a bang, and only recording just one race ain't it. So once the Grand Prix finished around 3 a.m. and we all went home, even without doing any interviews, it was only then when I discovered the mid-race recording cutoff. Text conversations were then had regarding what to do about it, and we realized there was only one way to make sure this championship got the ending it deserves. Over 8 weeks later, April 29th was the day agreed on by everyone where we would finish this thing. Though this time at a bright and early 10 a.m. With us all back at Tanner's place, refreshed and ready to race, it wouldn't be home circuit that we'd redo first. No. For this championship's second curveball, we ended up redoing Tour as well. Now this is bound to be an even more controversial decision because the Tour races weren't half bad, but we figured with the vibes being a little shaky post-argument, and more importantly, 2 of us having played portrait mode and the other 2 landscape, we decided let's run that title back as well. It took a little convincing for Rogan and especially Hudson, whose scores were decent the first time around, but we all eventually agreed we gotta end this thing right. We wanted that clean split screen look. So consider the old Tour scores scrapped, gone, no longer counting. Instead, enjoy a little bonus Grand Prix, if you will, again on Mario Kart Tour. This time with the screens the same and the good vibes retained. Before we begin, I need to make this clear. That is Hudson. He just got a little trim since the last filming. And also, I'm sad to say, Trey was unable to make it for the remainder of the championship because of scheduling reasons. So if you're only here for more of his sweet shit talk, I'm sorry, but his time here is done. With that said, time for today's first redo. Like we did the first time, we chose the 6 race option in order to crank out the 1 warm-up and then 4 GP races all in one fell swoop. Though again, not in one cup, with the first 3 races taking place in the Dixie Kong Cup and the last 2 taking place in the PTSD-inducing Bowser Cup. Right away, the crowd was back on their bullshit. First with Hudson threatening me.
Sugar, what'd you do if I just spent $50 right now and bought all the best characters in this?
I don't give a
good footage.
I need to roll to easy.
Honestly, I prefer you doing it.
Next, with Tanner attempting one last rule break,
See, that's what I need. Armor days.
No, you need to stick the peach, bro.
Dude, what does it matter at this point?
and last with Rogue pulling that I'm nervous shtick.
I don't think I'll win this one.
Shut the fuck
There we go again.
The cameraman who did make it to the final day was Julian, who was a little confused on what his role would be before home circuit.
Am I supposed to be doing something?
Looking good.
While on the topic, we were already brewing up crazy final course designs.
I don't know. I want something really spicy towards the end. Do you have a slide out there? Can we bust that shit off and then bring it in here?
Yeah, I don't think it's even attached.
We weren't even getting traction on like
Well,
grained wood.
we don't even need to have it on a ramp. We just have it flat on the ground, 2 ramps up it, and then you get off of it.
That could be interesting. Yeah.
It's really pretty long, I think.
Yeah, I don't.
We have to like probably move the table.
It could be the main centerpiece. Like, there you go. So good. We bring in a slide in here.
You clean it beforehand.
Finally, it was time for the warm-up, which for a third time was on Maple Tree Way. Again, because we just chose a cup at random that happened to again have Maple first. Anyway, the race immediately started with Tanner forgetting why I had to choose a different character.
First, like, drive Bowser and you're getting on my ass about switching between
Hey, bitch, it's the closest thing to Bowser I got on lock.
You're an asshole.
The race carried on like any other until the first mysterious mobile mishap occurred. When nearing the entrance to the Wiggler Circle, Tanner was holding a red with the intention of barrel stuffing Rogue, which he pulled off.
Oh, hit him with the rope.
Despite that, Rogue had zero response, maybe because on his screen there was no barrel stuffing at all. Tanner was barely even in his view. This occurrence is likely just a latency glitch, but interesting nonetheless. Even though the new tour vibes were undoubtedly better, the group was still a little on edge.
Okay. You for that one, Jeffrey?
Bitch ass. I like that they show who did it, so I know who to go for. So we just roll over.
Keep my name out your mouth.
As we entered lap 2, Tanuki Mario hit me and Tanner with a little bob-omb collateral. Despite it being a feature of the game, the group had had enough of Rogue's excuses.
Bro, you gonna stop pulling items up there, bro?
It just automatically. I don't know what this is.
Stop it.
While cruising at bullet speed, I needed to comment on Tanner's name.
See a Tanner plus plus. What is a plus plus?
Dude, I'm polite.
Trying to think of something clever. Tanner plus you suck.
That was, yeah, I think that's the one.
When on the final stretch, Rogan and Hudson were neck and neck. Rogan, with the hopes of slowing down Hudson, threw a green, but shanked it, or at least he thought.
What? Dude, that bounced off the wall and hit me.
With that, had Rogan first, then Hudson following him up in second.
That was a lucky ass shot, bro.
You threw it and it missed, and then it bounced off the wall and came back and hit me, bro.
I was about to snag the third, until this time it was Tanner cruising by me, almost as payback for when I did a similar last-minute pass on him back on the Wii, on the same map. That move let Tanner have third instead, with me fourth, but just barely. The first race of the Grand Prix finally took place on a Tour original map, the reverse version of Amsterdam Drift. The race started off immediately with fingers getting pointed.
Next round on the road?
On what one?
I saw that shit, bro.
I didn't do anything.
That's typical. Plus plus.
Right as we were landing our paraglides is where the second mysterious mobile mishap occurred. Just as our wheels touched the ground, Rogue tossed a green my way that clearly missed its target. But on my screen, it was a direct hit. His view later updated to the successful shell, but regardless, these glitches are getting a little annoying. Shortly after, Rogue pulled the same move I did on Luigi's Mansion with the perfectly timed Mega Mushroom.
Of course, Rogan went that lightning.
Then, despite giving Rogan continual shit for it, Hudson pulled this slime move.
Is that a backwards red, Big Hooters?
It was surprisingly only then when the first Tor blue shell was used on one of us, and who other would it be than the blue shell magnet himself. After a pretty crazy three-way item interaction occurred between Tanner, Hudson, and Rogan was when the third Triple M took place. With my newly acquired star, I was aiming for old plus plus ahead of me, and I did eventually hit my target. But to him, my reaction was probably confusing because on his screen, no such star stun occurred. From his view, he evaded me before I even had the chance. Like I said, these screen discrepancies are getting a little old. With all of us super tight and the lap coming to an end, came maybe the closest, most controversial finish of the championship yet. Now, that was probably hard to tell what just happened, so let me break it down. On my screen, it looked like I had the W, but last second, Tanner did successfully pass me. Tanner's screen also matches that. On Rogue's screen though, while in star mode, he hits me, then makes the pass for second. Hudson's screen as well supports that. From my perspective, I can believe Rogue passed me last second out of view, but I can guarantee no star stun occurred. That's for sure. With that now being the fourth mysterious mobile mishap, the legitimacy of these tour races needs to be called into question. Don't worry, we're not redoing it again. The official positions were Tanner first, Rogan second, me third, and Hudson in a salty fourth.
Wait, who got last? Hudson?
Yeah.
You got last.
That's what I like. I got no good items.
I'm rooting against Brown actively.
Dude,
For the
you're
last
last place, bitch. Okay.
Bitch, you're about to.
You're not even in the competition.
Jeff got third and Hudson got eighth. Fourth. When he said last, I was like, gee.
Oh, Jesus. Rogan's on the split second. Got past me.
Well, because he got a bullet and a star at the end, and he
That's
yeeted past everyone. I literally watched you bullet past me, bro.
Race 2 of the GP took place on another mouthful, the Reverse Remix, second version of the SNES Rainbow Road, making this the first time at any version of the iconic colorful course, and boy is it a weird one.
Dude, they got mushrooms in space?
The race started off with me giving Tanner a little banana payback.
Oh, Thomas fell for the banana on the rainbow trick.
But my success was short-lived.
Yeah, I'm the rainbow trick. Oh, that's off the map. Jesus, I thought it was gonna yank me on with an invisible wall. Shank like my name's Jankum out here.
Creative.
After that saw the continuation of Rogan and Hudson's red shell rivalry.
Why they give me 2 coins and they give Rogue like 80 red shells? This is the hard
Did you just have 2 red shells?
Yeah, it's your favorite move.
I can't control it.
Lap 2 found me again with the right item at the right time.
Oh, that perfect timing with the lightning. See if later on plus.
Even with this being our 8th race on tour, while bickering with Hudson, Tanner made a very late discovery.
We need a blue shell for readers. Anyone?
No, we don't need a blue shelter first, okay, guys? Listen.
Wait. Hudson knows how to hold items.
It doesn't automatically.
The finish wrapped up with Tanner in second after failing to red shell Hudson, who remained in first, followed by Rogan third and me in a shaky 6th.
Dude, I hated that course, my god.
That one was kind of shitty.
I actually managed to fall off.
How is that even possible?
When you were in the air, people ever do that.
Race 3 took place on a straight-up remake of the championship's first ever course, the SNES's Choco Island 1. Off the bat, the race was a hectic one. With a banana prepared, Tanner attempted a drive and drop on Rogue, but instead nailed Big Hooters, who was basically asking for it with his kart choice.
What the f*** for that one?
Once he regained his composure, Hudson tried a close-up red shell on me, but again, my killer timing paid off. Then, shortly after entering lap 2, Tanner again tried to banana Rogue, but again missed his target, with me taking the L this time. If the race wasn't sweaty enough already, with the finish near, Rogue was looking to pull a first, until Tanner hit him with a red, allowing not only him to pass, but Hooters as well, who, at the time, tossed a green shell backwards, which was barely dodged by me. Back up front, at the same time Hudson was throwing a Yoshi egg at Tanner, Rogue was throwing a red at him. The egg was blocked, but the shell wasn't. It didn't matter to him though, because after somehow I got hit with Hudson's previously dodged green, I successfully whipped a big Bowser / red shell combo at Rogan and both hit their target, which allowed Hudson to finish second after Tanner's first. Rogue did end up with a third, with me right behind him in fourth. While totaling the scores, Rogan was asked why he didn't pass Hudson, to which he answered with a quick excuse.
I accidentally pulled down my little thing on my screen like that.
Oh, no.
With that extremely intense finish over with, there was just one race left. While loading into the fourth and final course, we were hit with this scary screen.
Rainbow Road again?
We can skip it.
Oh, should we play through it?
I don't know.
Oh, it's a different. Oh, yeah, it's different. It's a different Rainbow Road. This is gonna cause an upset.
That is correct. This is technically no repeat. Instead, this is the trick version of the SNES's OG Rainbow Road. With all that clear, we floored it. Before we wrap this Grand Prix up, it's time for the fifth and final mysterious mobile mishap, which was witnessed by Rogan.
Who just fell off?
One of the bots, I guess. One of the bots fell.
Rogan's right. From his perspective, somebody definitely fell off, but it wasn't any bot. As you can see, that was Hooters. But, as you can guess, on his screen, nope. Did not happen. He was actually first. This glitch was rather harmless. Just know when playing Tour, everything isn't always as it seems. The race carried on with me putting people in their place.
Turns out.
Jeff, sit down.
I even attempted to double down on Brown, but he phased right through my bomb. With this being the tightest, most ramp-filled course yet, Lucas made this apt comparison.
I know, boom.
It's like you're doing tricks and Tony Hawk and some shit.
Right as the final leg was coming up, Hudson slimed me.
What?
But it didn't matter because I came right back to just barely snag the first over him.
Let's go.
My first since 5 games ago on GP2, and that was just time-based. Regardless, a first is a first, with indeed Hudson grabbing second, followed by Rogan and also a very close third, and Tanner in a fat 7th, sandwiched between 2 Peach variants. Now it's time to look at the scoreboard again for Mario Kart Tour. As you can see, Tanner and I definitely performed better this time around, with us both snagging some first places. Rogan and Hudson again did alright, but technically each scored lower than their first time with the game. But as you can see with the totals, with only 1 game remaining, Rogan is still holding a hefty lead, one that would require an abysmal performance to not be first. At this rate, we all know where I stand, but who will end in second is the real question. With those races complete, we finally felt we did the title justice, with these being some of the most fun, most insane, most photo finish races yet. Before we moved on to Day 4's highly anticipated second game redo, it was time to go back into Tanner's bedroom for round 2. The group was first asked what they thought the reasons for a 4th day were.
Some logistical problems, some improvements.
Because Jeffrey just doesn't like losing and he just wants every chance to like come back and win. Saying we gotta restart games, redo games to try and get some more points to make himself not look as bad at Mario Kart, but it's not gonna work.
Day 4 has kind of brought aggressive side to you. Angry that your title might be taken away?
No.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Jeff didn't like that he was so far behind in 4th, so we had to reshoot some games we already played.
Because your dumbass doesn't understand how to set up shit properly and you lost the recording and stuff.
2 reasons. We had some recording difficulties with Mario Kart Home Circuit, the RC car game. Thought that was most important to get on footage, so we're mostly here for reshoots for that. And Tour, we didn't have a consensus of whether we were playing portrait or landscape, so it was half and half, so we figured we might as well do that again too. Even though Rogan is extremely ahead in points, he's been shown to be a little nervous for Day 4. Do you think this shows his lack of self-esteem?
Yes, it does. Thanks, Jeff.
Actually, I think it's the opposite. I think he's so far ahead that he honestly wants you three to think that you have a chance, but you don't.
Questions were then asked regarding our second round performances on the mobile Mario Kart.
Do you still think you have that first place secured?
Yeah, I think so. I'm pretty far ahead, even if I don't do as good.
Then explain the 3 third places on tour.
I don't know, it's a game made for little babies, and it's just not my favorite ever.
It was going good until the 4th race, sabotage.
I think I did a little bit better. I got like a lot of second places, so it wasn't that bad.
Considering I was just watching Jeff's screen, it was a mixed bag as the placements will show.
Thought it was a little slime that we had to do 2 rainbow roads, and I think Jeff went from 6th on the first one to 1st on the second one, so I'm not sure what went on there. I think maybe it paid a couple developers.
Jeff, I have the scorecard here, and I see a 6th place by your name.
All I gotta say is it's not a 7th. What were your thoughts on Jeffrey winning that 4th race?
I was pretty surprised. You know, usually he's so bad. I thought that there would be no way that he'd get first. Maybe like an 8th place finish every race is what I would expect from Jeffrey, but...
You want to explain the performance on the first race? I see a 4th place.
No comment.
Tanner clocked a 7th place on the 4th race. Debatably the worst in the entire tournament. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if we judge it too hard. It's a little kid game, you know. It's the baby version.
Some would say Jeff is the most slept on player, and if we had a couple more races, he'd probably work his way to first. Would you agree with that assessment?
What games could we play? What more games? There's no more.
What if I told
rumors that you got an 8th place at some point during the tournament?
That's false. The lowest position has been a 7th, received by Jeffrey and Tanner.
No, Tanner got an 8.
He did? What game?
Super Mario Kart.
Tanner-
I thought you got an 8 on something else too, but...
Doubt it.
Discussion was then had around Hudson's interesting gamer tag.
Yeah, Big Hooter's really weird, like trying to throw us off, trying to get us in a different mental state.
You know, Big Hooters, bruh. Do I need to say more? Like, what's wrong with Big Hooters?
You know, I thought being in 2022, we'd leave a lot of that stuff behind, but it just proves we have a lot of room to go. But, you know, it's pretty funny.
Again, even though a feature of the game, the crowd was still not having it with Rogan and his incessant item holding.
What are your thoughts on Rogan finding a way to hold an item even on a mobile game?
That's what I'm saying, like he's always got some sneaky tactic. Holding an item, bruh, I can't with him.
Holder's gonna hold, and I think the onus is on the rest of the players to meet him at that ability, or, you know, do what they've been doing and lose.
I mean, like, Rogue's always gonna find a way to hold an item behind him. He's always gonna get 3 red shells at least, okay? And then he's gonna just cruise past you on a last lap. It's guaranteed, basically, every time.
Would you or would you not say that holding an item behind you is a technical aspect of Mario Kart?
All I gotta say is there's one player, I'm not gonna name names, but he'll figure out a way to hold any item. I saw him holding a blue shell, I saw him holding a bullet. Like, he figures out the craziest strategies, and it's not commendable in my opinion. I think you're sweating too hard. I mean, this is casual here.
Would you classify this as slime tactics?
Oh, it's beyond slime tactics. It's degenerates tactics.
Like Ellen?
Though the biggest perpetrator, Tanner again had to bring up my forced character choice.
Jeff's getting on me for switching characters, and here he is with a totally different character. Like,
Is or is not Dry Bowser part of the Bowser family?
I think Bowser's like a platinum tier character in Tor, and I'm playing like Peach, who you get with the game. Like, I don't know how many hours he put in to get Dry Bowser, but is Dry Bowser even canon?
Discussion was then had regarding the scores and how they could be impacted by the reshoots.
There's talk of Hudson and Tanner switching position in the leaderboards with these reshoots. Do you think that could cause an upset?
Yeah, and I think they'll both never let you live it down, so.
Yeah, like, I'm hoping that Rogue does really bad so I can, you know, crawl my way back up out of this pit that I'm in right now and maybe get a first, but I don't think I'm even close to him.
You have one more game. I didn't say if you're gunning for first, you're gunning for second or third.
Well, I'm probably gonna get second then, because I did better than Tanner in Tour, so I don't know. Unless he does really well in the next one.
Hudson is quoted as, says he's gunning for first on Mario Kart Day 4. Is that a laughable statement? Is he even close in the leaderboards?
Not really. As long as I don't get last place every time, I'm good.
Ever since the results of Day 3 with your outstanding lead, Hudson's had only negative words for you. Do you think this has forever altered your friendship?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I really just wanted the trophy. I didn't really care about anything else. That's okay though. You do what you gotta do.
Lastly, the group shared their thoughts on returning to the real-life RC title home circuit.
There's talk of a substantial ramp. Do you think that could lead to issues?
Maybe for some people, but I'm used to there.
I'm excited. It's probably one of like the most unique ones out of all the ones we've done so far, so I think it's gonna be fun.
Jeff has the most experience with home circuit out of any player. We're about to redo it. Do you think he's got the chance of bringing back his score, maybe snagging the third?
See, I'm not sure about that because we're at Tanner's place and I was here first and he was sweeping the floors and greasing the floors, so I think that's to get at you.
Interesting. You are the lead designer behind the courses for home circuit. Do you have any surprises in store?
For sure, we got some things cooked up. It's gonna be crazy.
With that said, you know what time it is. Now, for real this time, welcome to the 13th and final game of 2022's biggest event, the 13-game Mario Kart Championship. Watch as the group revisits the Wixie Cup, this time with better courses, better equipment, better vibes, better ingredients, better pizza, box ramp. For this go at home circuit, we went all out. Check out this setup. Instead of the single screen recording like before, we rounded up 3 more laptops and 3 more Elgato capture cards in order to pull off that clean split screen look on this title as well. This required quite a bit of effort, but we had to do it because very few people have ever pulled it off before. Like I did on attempt 1, everyone just played off the recording playback screens, except for me, who was dealing with strange lag, so I had to controversially use an additional monitor, much to Rogue's disdain.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a benefit there. I'm playing on a 6-inch screwdriver. It's kind of
Controller setups were a bit different this time around, with Hudson and Tanner on loose Joy-Cons, Rogan on a Pro controller, and me rocking a Joy-Con controller. Now you might be wondering how everyone did the first time around on home circuit. Well, here's our first attempt scores. As you can see, no one did all that great, especially me with some real abysmal positions. Remember, these don't count for anything, but they give you an idea of how everyone is at the game. Also, as you can see with the totals, Rogan would have pulled away with the win, with Hudson 2nd, Tanner 3rd, and me 4th, but also know that these now defunct totals included our first attempts at Tour as well, so don't think too much into them. These right here are the scores we went into this redo with. Same positioning, but different point gaps. Now, before we begin, know that we again played 100cc. We again all chose different skins, with Rogan as Snow Luigi, me as Pumpkin Mario, Hudson as Knight Mario, and Tanner as Builder Luigi with the Big Scoop vehicle chosen. And again, Julian was on camera duty and Lucas was again essentially playing the Lakitu role, except this time only assisting if a critical crash occurred. Also know that here, Rogan is Rogan, I'm again Earlober, Hudson is Hudson, and Tanner is again Scott, because we again forgot to change the name. Speaking of mistakes, some of these races will be 5 laps long, others 3, only because Rogan accidentally clicked the wrong thing while creating the courses. With all that said, time for the warm-up. For each of the courses we designed, they were all rough variations of ovals, but each with unique qualities. For the warm-up though, we kept it simple. Once Lemmy joined us and we rammed our way into the starting positions, the final warm-up commenced. While making our first pass under Gate 1, Tanner and I were up close and personal.
Yikes, guys.
Then again, one gate later.
You f***ing itch! Bitch.
Once we all got our bearings, we quickly realized how much more pleasant it is racing with the daylight, which allowed for clearer courses and better scans, therefore less need for any Lucas intervention. That doesn't mean we were expert drivers or anything. This first race was for sure a clunky one. While entering lap 4, the 2 Luigis, Rogan and Tanner, were tight, constantly switching places,
Luigi one is sweating, oh my god.
with me not too far behind. The 5th and final lap had Rogan trying out the Chain Chomp item for the first time, causing this to happen.
oh no!
Last to first, bitch.
After I squeezed past them, Lemmy was the only racer left to deal with. I knew that if I wanted to pass him, I'd have to use the potentially off-railing bullet I just received. But unlike the Chain Chomp, the item worked as desired, allowing me to snag the first, followed by Lemmy behind me in second. The Luigi twins eventually caught back up, with Rogue snagging a very sloppy third and Tanner fourth. You've probably been wondering where Hudson's been this whole time. Well, according to him,
It's not letting me turn at all. I think something's stuck in the wheel or some shit.
Yeah, it's physically
Yeah, it's
something.
not letting me turn.
Yeah, we got a mechanical issue.
Yeah.
That's a new thing for Mario Kart.
I don't know if it's just lagging or if it's the cart.
No, I watched it physically and it looked weird.
Or just bad player.
That's what I'm thinking.
Bro, get the hell out of here, bro.
before Hudson even technically finished the race, Lucas played pit crew for a while and eventually got Hudson's cart back in order,
Yeah, that's way better.
Yeah, I can actually drive now.
Thanks, Lucas.
allowing him to finish with a very late fifth. Throughout the entire race, Tanner kept mentioning what he called
No, wait, I can't get the first place curse. The first place.
This
you
is
don't
weird,
get hit with the
like,
curse.
boring.
You can't get hit with the first place.
Oh, dude, the bull.
You get first in practice, you're doing horrible on the rest of them.
Yeah, that is.
Even with all that superstition, I wasn't worried. So once Hudson quit vlogging and Lucas quit hitting a jig on the racetrack, it was time for the first official race. For race 1, we decided to stick with the basic warm-up map design because time was of the essence with all the laptops and carts running off fast depleting batteries. Nevertheless, the race began with this time Ludwig joining us. Right away, the race was playing out like the previous one with a gate 1 pileup off the bat.
Yo, bro, we got a kamikaze Ludwig over here.
Lap 2 had Tanner pulling a Hudson when making that same tricky tabletop turn.
Yo!
Lap 3 was when things really started to get crazy. With his cart now fully operational, Hudson found himself neck and neck with Rogue leading the pack. But that was until I made my move.
Ooh, Mario, that was sick.
With me now in front, I was dealing with non-stop harassment. First with a blue shell, then with a lightning. All the while, Rogue thought Hudson figured out a shortcut,
Oh no, you can go over the table.
but in actuality, he was just again stuck in that same spot on the table. Tanner later discovered the actual way to cut the turn short. With the race coming to a close, Rogan and I were battling it out for firsts, until this brutal choke occurred.
Oh, it's gonna be close.
No way! Oh my god! Oh my god!
That big crash not only allowed me to snag yet another first, I know, crazy right? But also allowed Hudson time to sneak right by and snag the third place after Ludwig. Once Tanner, with the help of Lucas, corrected himself post-crash, he dashed to the finish, to where he was sadly beaten by Rogue. But because of Rogue's poor alignment, he missed the final scan, allowing Tanner to grab fourth instead. The scan shank required Rogue to complete an additional lap, which he was not pleased about.
Are you kidding me? That was such it didn't scan. This is
Once he finally snagged the fifth, Rogue continued his complaining.
I think we should do a rerun on that. Dude, that was so stupid. I like passed somebody right at the last minute, but it didn't scan and it didn't count. Yeah, I want to redo that one anyway.
I remember not.
At this point with the game, we realized that items here are really no big deal. The obstacles combined with just staying on the track are the only real difficulties, as made obvious by the bots performing so well.
Dude, why did Ludwig get second?
Because Ludwig doesn't have to worry about hitting any obstacle.
It was then time to design race 2, where we ended up going with again another oblong oval, but this time with a coffee table overhang and the return of the controversial shoe minefield that was first used on our first home circuit Grand Prix.
Alright, Jeff, chill.
One shoe.
That's two.
To top off the new design, I wanted to add something a little dangerous.
Water damage.
While Rogue was scanning the new layout, I unsuccessfully tried to get Hudson's attention.
Brown. Millie.
What?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Before we got going, I needed to make sure everyone's recordings were working properly.
You at the full screen.
What do you mean you the full screen?
Yeah, you're literally playing on a
I
TV
hate
right now,
you.
Jeff.
I keep this shit on.
You have a.
No, the only
You
reason.
have the Cinemark 4D screen.
There's an IMAX theater over here and we're playing on this shitty ass
Oh, we're in another.
Afterwards, I just started spitballing design ideas.
Pizza box is gonna be the finale. I want to do something spicy, so start thinking third. Some sort of element. Do you have a spinning table? Like a lazy Susan that we can go on?
A lazy
A treadmill?
This is getting too much.
Do we have a treadmill? Yeah, Jeff, it's over here.
We're on label race
use
2.
a treadmill for this, right? Like you should ride on the
Okay, so
With us all at the starting line, all that was left was to assume the ready positions.
ready? I guess I'm the only one not.
Okay.
Yeah, bruh. Damn. It got way worse.
Yo, Yarch.
Jesus Christ. Stop.
I'm trying to get in the f***ing sweet spot.
Bruh, stop. You keep pushing him out.
Yo, you
It's so
motherfucker.
funny because it's Mario with a pumpkin head on. Every time he collides, he lurches forward.
You keep pushing him
Back on.
Yo, you keep pushing me. You gotta go sideways, bro.
As if the process wasn't already taking long enough, Rogue still wasn't content.
Okay, I'll go in front then.
There we go. We're all ready. Rogan. Oh, that's so so much hypocrite bitch. This is turning into a 5-hour affair because Rogan wants his
I
first.
can't get the spot.
This was while Lucas was busting another move on the racetrack.
Dude, the jiggle is real.
Okay, there we go.
It was looking kind of flat. What? Going?
Finally, once our boy Roy dropped in, the race finally began. Immediately after we hit the gas, Rogue was the first to fall victim to the Nike Blazer barricade. Then, in classic home circuit fashion, lap 1 contained a first corner crash involving Tanner and I, all because...
Whoa, that shoe! The ball went through, bro.
Bitch! Mario Kart sucker.
Right as we entered lap 2, Rogue pulled this insane maneuver on me.
Whoa! Luigi's on some spit out shit.
When checking in on the others, Tanner, who because of this Nike dunk disaster and this later gate gaffe on his third lap, actually managed to get lapped by Hudson, who was currently on his fourth lap. Slightly behind Hudson was me, and Rogue, who also found himself in a dunk dilemma, allowing me to make a needle thread pass.
Whoa! No, don't push on me. Crazy!
The fifth and final lap had Hudson dealing with a blue shell, causing him to slow to a stop, causing Tanner, who was still a lap behind, to run right into him.
The Marios are top problems. Like, I see no beef with Luigi's ever.
Hudson did manage to maintain the lead though and snag the first place, followed by me in second, Roy in third, Rogue in fourth, and Tanner, well, after a few more embarrassing bonks, finally grabbed fifth.
I'm sitting out for the interview.
After the race, I started throwing out even more design ideas.
Lucas, do you think you could, like, you just sit over the course, we go into your legs or something? That adds an element. Like a human element? Or just go like this, like, the whole time?
Like this?
When designing race 3, we decided to flip the direction and the table and add a few more decorations, including some plants, a glow lamp, and some of those classic eye dogs. All this decorating occurred while some sus side combos were being had between Hudson and Rogue.
What are you doing? Get the recording going and
Shove this down my pants.
Take a dick pic with the Mario Kart. Make my dick look big.
Before we finished the design, I announced my craziest idea yet.
Dude, should we put a puddle on the ground? That'd be kind of sick. Let me get Tanner's permission.
I don't even know if it show up on camera.
I feel like that's a bad idea.
water plus
Half a cup.
RC cars. Yeah.
Okay, Tanner approved the water for the final race.
This is not. No, I don't want to put my thing in water.
Dude, they're waterproof.
They're totally gonna be fine. Only the tires gonna be running.
Yeah,
What about some olive oil?
some olive oil slick.
All that was left was to help Lucas find his spot.
Okay, Lucas, figure out where you're gonna be standing. Something like this.
You
just
overestimated
just
my
stand in that
core
position
strength.
for
Are you gonna get
3
3 minutes of core strength like that in me?
Lucas, do this for one of them.
That is really hard, Lucas.
Lucas, do you think you can do like a plank where you're like doing one of these joints?
One of these.
Yeah.
I think this is the move. The vanilla.
That ain't vanilla, bro.
Ain't anymore.
Just like
Suck your own dick, basically.
Oh my god.
I'm ready to be taken.
With this being our fourth home circuit race, Tanner knew he needed to step up his game.
Give me a head,
You're
Lucas.
gonna come back.
Race 3 then finally began, alongside Larry this time, and right away, Hudson found himself in, essentially, a Mario sandwich, all while taking a trip under a squatting Lucas, all while I was busy stuck in an arrow sign. Who also was posted up as part of the course was Julian, who was chilling behind a plywood wall. When finishing lap 1, Tanner and I both received chain chomps. I accidentally tossed mine, but Tanner, who majorly missed a gate scan, successfully used his for some extra speed while backtracking. Me and the two others up front were all pretty close to one another until Rogue and Hudson both got caught on gate 3.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Allowing me to zoom right past them. That move led to me taking my third first place, which was about to be followed up by Larry until Rogue pulled out a clutch bullet, allowing him to snag the second instead. Hudson though, he couldn't pass Larry in time and ended in 4th. Tanner did surprisingly catch back up after his major gate shank, but not enough to get anything other than the last place 5th. Let's just say this wasn't the comeback he was looking for.
You have to.
Dude, look at that.
I'm sitting out of this interview.
That's so funny.
Tanner was
So
so
good.
distraught at his performance. He fled the premises.
He fell through his knees outside.
The time has finally come for the championship's final race. The race where everyone had design ideas.
Do you have any food coloring? Black food coloring can make us like oil.
Probably should say.
Get like some candles or something. We could like light some candles and like.
Should we throw this powder on the ground like a little like sand trap?
Powder.
With this being the final race, we knew we had to go hard. Number 1, the pizza box ramp idea had to return. That was a given. We also made a tunnel using a painting, then an overhang using a blanket, and to top it off,
Let's do a cooked over.
Oh, I'm down for an egg.
cooked egg.
Do it.
Fucking crack an egg on the ground.
Dude, who owns all these cars?
Jeff is completely lost.
before I committed to the egg, I had to win over Rogue, who owned one of the carts.
Jeff, we're not cracking an egg.
Bro, if your thing is permanently damaged, I'll get you a new car.
I don't want egg on my thing.
It's just gonna be on the tires. If you don't want it, I won't do it. But I'm just saying, I'll wash your car. It'll be clean.
Okay.
The egg with the cracked shell right here is gonna be mine.
The same.
With his permission, I gave the egg a few tosses and eventually got what I thought was a pretty sick looking IRL obstacle. All that was left was to bring my puddle idea back up with Rogan.
We're throwing a cup of water down. We're still doing that. A cup of water.
Right here, right before this turn.
I do not want to use water on this.
You're gonna sand somewhere? If you want
I think we should get real oil. I don't know the way this.
No, I don't want to do the oil.
I do not want to. Oh my god.
No, we might.
Without his permission this time, I committed to pouring the puddle, but instead of just water, I wanted to end off this championship with some literal slime this time.
You're cleaning all this shit.
I will.
You're leaving it like that?
Yeah, I
I said you should fix it. You should fix it before you even pour it.
That's what it looks like.
Like somebody had with diarrhea on the floor.
It's
sludging up. It's sludging up, bro.
Oh, dude, this might stay.
With that final touch added, we were very happy with the end result.
Dude, this is an art installation, quite literally.
Yeah, we're going all out for the final.
We really leveled it up.
Bro, we are pushing B right now, right?
It was then time to race, this time with Wendy on the craziest home circuit course ever concocted. The race started with Rogue repeating his race 2 beginning bonk.
I was getting f***ed right off the bat.
The other guys and I had a strong start though and made it through the first lap unscathed until
Oh shit!
at that same exact time I wasn't the only one falling for the new slime surprises.
Yeah, he slid straight to the. Oh, back into the egg too.
My slime slide may or may not have been intentional, but Rogan's appeared to be legit and it really caused him to quite literally slip out. Those two mistakes of Rogue's caused him and Tanner as well to almost get lapped by Hudson just while on their second lap. Hudson, though, alongside me, was on the third and final lap, which ended up being quite a crazy one. While still being on their second lap, Rogue and Tanner collided with one another. That collision not only slowed them both down, but Hudson as well. That holdup allowed me to catch up to Hudson for the final stretch. All that was left was for us two Marios to make our way up the pizza box ramp one more time and finish out the race.
Damn.
You, Jeffrey.
As you can see, while the two Luigis passed us to enter their final lap, Lucas freed us up, which allowed Hudson to grab the second because Wendy already finished first, and then me third after him. That left only Rogue and Tanner, and both were about to make that same final pizza box jump, when at the entrance, both got caught. But eventually Rogue freed himself, therefore taking the lead and grabbing fourth. All that left for Tanner was yet another fifth place. When taking our victory laps, I had to try out what the egg felt like.
All in the egg. All in the egg.
Tanner as well wanted to have a little fun. As you can see, the egg and the slime were very successful, alongside the pizza box ramp, which altogether provided a very fun final race to end the championship off on.
Rogue, I appreciate you letting me go in the sludge and the egg, even though you didn't want to.
As long as you clean my shirt.
Now it's time to look at the final scoreboard. As you can see, this was quite a good performance for me. My best yet, actually. This is actually only the second time, first being GP2, where I received the most points out of anyone on the game. I'd say this performance is proof of Tanner's quote-unquote curse not existing. Now, on the surface, it might look a tad dicey that I did significantly better on Tour and Home Circuit the second time around, but I promise you, my true intentions were just to gather better footage, and I think we accomplished that. For the others, you can see Hudson, not bad. Rogue and Tanner though, yikes. But I know what you really want to see. The final point totals. Drum roll please. Bam. As you can see, Rogue did walk away with the W with 612 total points, followed by Hudson in second with 574, Tanner in third with 551, and me in fourth, just barely creeping past 500 with 501. Despite my last place position, you know what they say. It only really matters who does best in the end. After we collected all the recordings, cleaned up all the aftermath, and reassembled Tanner's living room, it was then time to gather everyone up this time for the final. The group first shared thoughts regarding Home Circuit and their performances on it.
What were your thoughts on the obstacles on Home Circuit?
Very good. Very, spiced it up a lot.
I thought the sludge was a great addition. Whoever thought about the egg was great. I wish Jeffrey cleaned it up a little faster when we were done though.
It was kind of weird that Jeff took it back and cooked it.
Or we could salvage that egg, Loki.
Why did you do that?
Picking up for lunch.
True. You know, he's been very tight about the production budget. I think I heard him say, nothing gets wasted on set, and he glooped it up.
He hasn't washed his hands for sure.
Yeah.
He's gross, yeah.
Tanner, you want to explain that lackluster performance on Mario Kart Home Circuit?
Yeah, I can explain it perfectly. Everyone came together before the race, and we decided that we wanted Jeff to, have a moment because he hasn't shown up for any of the other races, so we decided to let him get some wins in. Just thought it was fitting. He's been really down, kind of, going off the deep end.
I threw Jeff a bone today. Kind of wanted to make him feel good. I'm getting a phone call. One sec.
From his cart dealer.
Let's Dale Earnhardt's pit group.
Yeah.
That's Trey calling off the screen right now. We haven't totaled up the final results. Do you think it's possible you surpassed Hudson?
Judging by the home circuit races, probably not. But I'm above Jeff, so it's like slime always loses.
The guys then talked on all the collusion, corruption, and cuckery that occurred throughout the championship.
You've been on record speaking slight praise of Jeff towards the end of the tournament, saying
I was
slept
coerced. I was coerced. I was bribed and coerced.
Interesting with bribing allegations and coercion.
I'm not in the tournament.
Lucas loves to bring up the bribing, get the heat off.
I've been nothing but I've had a target painted on me for the collusion because you can't find a way to wrap around the head that maybe you just haven't performed well.
How long-winded was that question? What would you say if I said I analyzed some of the previous games and there's some possible disqualifications?
I would say, what are they?
Let me think on that.
There's a lot of file transfers that were going on today, and a lot of eyes that were on the laptops on which these files were translated and transferred. A couple folder names that might raise some eyebrows. XXX.
Tentacion.
Do not open. There's been a lengthy discussion about your tactics. Nothing necessarily illegal or anything that would be outlawed, but something that other players haven't hesitated to call scummy, grimy, Gloopy. A lot of discussion around the item holding. Do you have anything to say?
I followed the rules that were initiated at the beginning of the tournament. Holding an item is an active mechanic of Mario Kart games, and you don't play to not be slimy, you play to win the game.
No, I think my performance technically was really good actually.
By what technical metric?
Corner turning,
okay.
item usage at the correct time, analysis of the maps, shortcuts, handling of my
I'm
vehicles.
sorry, did you say shortcuts?
Yeah, intended shortcuts, unlike many other players.
You're dipping your toes in disqualification territory.
That's
That was a bit of
right.
a self-report.
No, if you look at mine, mine's clean as a whistle. How much money did you receive from bribes?
I've received no money for bribes at all.
Other favors? Of the sexual variety?
I signed an NDA, but yes.
Next, each person was asked not only about their scores and performances, but about each other's as well.
If I had to go one by one, breaking everyone's performance down, I've been rooting for Rogue from the start. In the beginning I did. As the tournament went on, the gameplay got more and more questionably legal at times. He's just not fun to play with. Hudson, the only word that comes to my mind is embarrassing. Starts off first, and then it's just like bottom tier. It was honestly embarrassing to share a racetrack with him. And Tanner, the most mediocre, forgettable gameplay. I mean, where is he at the leaderboards? We don't know. We don't know.
I think Hudson did, pretty well for not being like super into Mario Kart. I think he did pretty good. Tanner did good, and Jeffrey was terrible the whole time.
Interesting. Do the numbers support that?
Yes. You're like 8 points behind Tanner, who's pretty right now.
It's a wide gap. I can't believe the concern was you winning your own tournament at any point.
Yeah.
Hudson, you've been known as the past is prime.
You've said that to me every single interview. Every single interview, you've said that same question to me, and it's never been true. I'm in second place, bro. You're in fourth.
You were on record recently saying you were gunning for first, and now you're a secured third place. What are your thoughts on being so tone deaf with your score the entire tournament?
Just so passive aggressive, like just attacking him. Like it's not even a question.
When analyzing Hudson's gameplay from the start, would you deem it respectable?
I would. I think.
He's so mad right now.
Who do you think had the overall slimiest, least respectable gameplay of this entire tournament?
Entire tournament? First comes to mind, I hate to say it, but Rogue. I can't with the item trailing. Hold the item. What do you mean with slime? It's like racing.
It's tactical games.
It's like you don't want to actually race, so it's like you throw some shit behind your car. And I'm saying any game he can do it, he's pressing every button to figure it out. Insert clip of the prehistoric Mario Kart.
The previous results were analyzed, and you're the only person in the tournament to get an 8th place. You want to explain that?
8th place? What are you talking about?
In a previous game, you got an 8th place.
Cap.
This is according to Rogan.
I said Jeffrey also got an 8th place because he did.
7th. The lowest I've gotten is a 7th.
They were so quick to get that. Seven.
Okay,
I would never get an 8th.
Hey Jeff, that was in the old stats, but
You motherfucker. This kid with a screenshot.
Camera.
What the Why'd you have that so quick?
And finally, everyone was asked to give their closing thoughts.
So we're at the end of the line. Things are getting wrapped up. Kids are going home from school. The cattle are coming home. The shepherd is bringing the sheep back to the farm. The sun is setting on this tournament journey. Closing thoughts, opinions, hot takes. We want to hear what you think.
It was a great time. I don't know when we started, but I think it's like 3 months later, so...
It certainly feels like that, if it hasn't literally been that long.
But the tournament was great. I think I chose Tanner to win right off the bat.
Wasn't the worst choice.
Yeah, you could have picked worse, like Jeffrey. Yeah.
Rogan, we've done 13 games throughout 4 days, countless hours. How do you think you did overall start to finish?
I'm pretty happy with how I did. I mean, obviously I could have done better in some parts.
Dude.
And
typical, am I right?
What do you think of your performance in the tournament as a whole?
I'm pretty unsatisfied with it, but I'm glad that I was a part of it.
Even though the numbers don't support it, you say essentially you're the best racer. What do you mean by that?
It's one thing to race digitally with buttons, but when we get on the actual track, it'll be a different story.
I've kept a level-headed. I haven't trash talked.
You want to put an asterisk there or something?
Do you want to like not blatantly lie? No, there's behind the scenes. There's been some interviews where an anonymous third party has been stirring up some insane drama, but I'm just sitting out there getting interviewed every so often, playing a clean game, commending my teammates, tapping them on the back, shaking their hands. But in terms of politeness and well-manneredness, number one.
No secret that you and Hudson pretty close coming into the tournament.
Yeah.
Do you think the dynamic's been strained at all as you guys have turned from friends to fierce competitors?
You and Rogan started best of friends, constantly complimenting each other.
Oh,
no
yeah,
trash
I
talk.
hate that guy now. I hate that guy now.
Yeah, actually, I mean, I feel like I don't see the same person I saw at the beginning of the tournament. He's really turned his back on me. He's calling me slimy. He's kind of, you know, thinking the way like Jeffrey does about things now. And
You want to elaborate on that?
Oh, that's hard.
Would you say that? Would you say that he's been Jeff pilled?
Yes, he's been very Jeff unbased in Jeff Bill.
Hudson, you went into this tournament with the biggest cock in the world, and for your confidence couldn't have been higher, and now it's more subdued with every game.
Yeah, my cock was massive. I was rocking like a 13-inch baby arm dong, and then, you know, I think once I got to the second day and Rogue was hitting all these crazy, you know, mock bike drifts and shit, and he was going virgin mode, and, you know, my dick shrunk like 18 times, bro. So
your dick size is what has caused the rift between you and Rogan.
yeah, he only cares about my cock size, so.
There was lip-on-lip action at the end of each day, and now you guys won't even look at each
I
other.
mean, that's just how bros celebrate, you know? You finish a race, you do well, you give your boy a kiss on the lips, you say, good job. Maybe a pat on the ass, you know? I'm just comfortable in my sexuality, what can I say?
I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. I mean, either cheat or lose.
Was the hard place Brown's dick?
It was hard at the beginning, and it was soft as shit at the end, but... Do you think you served as a good, unbiased, third-party, stick-to-the-numbers guy?
Yeah, I kept my duties as an official in this this tournament separate from my personal biases the best I could.
You seem to have picked favorites from the start. Did your chosen favorite win the tournament?
We're dealing with 6 people here, you know, 4 competitors. Some people are just better people than other people, and I think...
You want to elaborate on that?
To ignore that would be dishonest. I do like certain people better than others, but...
Name names and the ones you don't like.
How did it feel to be Jeffrey's bitch boy running around doing all his errands?
Bad. Man, you know how much I'm getting paid for this?
Are you worried, Rogan, that people are gonna think you're a massive virgin because you're so good at Mario Kart?
No, I actually, you know, get all the ladies. I just tell them, hey, I want a Mario Kart tournament.
Just flash the trophy and then
That does hold some weight, yeah.
That's right. I'm gonna make it into a chain and wear it around my neck a couple times.
Overall, when looking back at the 13 games, I think I maintained what I said from the beginning of the interviews. Most overall great player. I don't take the major L's and I don't take sometimes the major dubs. I'm
most consistently average, we could say.
consistently averagely good.
What are you calling last place
Yeah,
average?
you're in 4th place. How's that averagely good?
I'm just saying,
Sure.
look at the numbers,
Sure.
the consistency of my points.
So you would say with confidence that if we took the average placement and divided it by the number of games played, that your position would change, or do you think you'd remain firmly in 4th?
I don't know, you're rambling, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, I'm just not making any sense. I'm sorry. Right.
roughly, I stayed the same point in the race. I think consistency better than,
Winning.
you know, winning's a loose definition. I mean,
Even
it
if
can be
you're-
interpreted different ways.
Even if
People
you're
will,
consistently last.
people will remember the gameplay, they won't remember the positions.
Oh, okay.
People will remember the tactics, they won't remember...
Is that why they give the person who wins the trophy to remember it, and not the people who lost?
Are you still talking?
Jeff, 4th place, bro. Come on.
We need answers.
We're all just disappointed.
Do you want me to explain this 4th place?
You're gonna lie, so.
No, let's hear what you have to say.
My friends, all dear to me.
Instead of more of that bullshit, here's something a little more interesting to end off on. Before we finish up today, I thought it might be neat to go over some interesting stats relating to all the data collected throughout the 13 games. These 10 number-based stats will come from the 13 games warm-ups and Grand Prix on the scoreboard, therefore not including our first attempts on tour and home circuit. Of course, you can do the math yourself with us playing 1 warm-up and 4 races for each game. That comes out to 65 total races, but you can't forget how the GP games worked, with the individual Grand Prix and the race position requirements. Including those redos brings the actual total to 122 races. When it comes to the total amount of laps, the math isn't as simple as you might think. Most games are the standard 3, but with Super Mario Kart's 5, Tour's 2, home circuit's lap differences, and again all the GP redos and their lap differences as well, the official total amount of laps comes to, believe it or not, 399 laps. A big one you've probably been wondering is how many firsts, seconds, thirds, etc. did each person earn? Well, here's the breakdown. I received 3 sevenths, 4 sixths, 3 fifths, 15 fourths, 12 thirds, 8 seconds, and 7 firsts. Tanner received 1 eighth, 1 seventh, 1 sixth, 4 fifths, 13 fourths, 5 thirds, 17 seconds, and 10 firsts. Hudson received 1 sixth, 2 fifths, 12 fourths, 11 thirds, 14 seconds, and 12 firsts. And finally, Rogan received 4 fifths, 6 fourths, 14 thirds, 8 seconds, and a whopping 20 first places. In order to see each player's point consistency, here are a few charts, starting with Tanner, whose success you can see came in waves. Next with me, who had generally poor scores with a few peaks here and there. Next with Hudson, who you can see definitely scored higher, even snagging a perfect 60. And lastly, Rogan, who on average performed quite well with several peaks, including 2 perfect 60s. When overlaid, you can see how everyone paired up to one another and how consistent each player kept throughout the 13 games. Quickly, here are 2 more charts showing point distribution and when and where players passed each other in points. Overall, a little nerdy, but interesting nonetheless. Now for these next couple stats, I painstakingly went back and watched all the non-GP games, player by player, at 1.5 speed to collect these numbers I really think you'll find interesting. Starting with... Now, I think we all know the answer to this question, but was Rogan truly the ultimate blue shell magnet? Well, when looking at the numbers, in order of least to greatest, Tanner was only hit with 4, followed by me with just 5, next with Hudson with 6, and lastly, of course, with Rogan with a whopping 14 blue shell hits. Next stat I kept track of was how many times the group was hit with lightning, because it seemed like quite a bit. The answer is 38 total shocks, with the most taking place on 64 and Super Circuit with 7 and 8 bolts respectively. Now, the point behind keeping track of total red shells thrown is to prove whether or not Hudson is the biggest abuser of them. Now, we aren't talking successful hits, just how many were thrown by each player. Again, least to greatest, starting with, well, Hudson. He might have been the best with reds, but he did in fact throw the least with 58 thrown total. Next with me with 67 thrown, then with Rogan with 78 reds thrown, and finally with the most thrown being Tanner with 93 total reds. This stat isn't to prove any point, more just for fun. While keeping track of who slipped on the most bananas, Rogan came in last with only 10 slips, next with me having slipped on 14, then with Hudson having slipped on 15, and again with another first is Tanner, who slipped on the most with a total of 20 bananas. Now, the amount of total map fall-offs was mostly to prove if Tanner truly lived up to his L-Taker name, and when looking at the numbers, coming in at the least was Hudson with only 13 map fall-offs, next with Rogan with only 15, then with Tanner, yikes, with 22 map fall-offs, which still isn't too hot, then lastly me with, prepare yourself, 31 total map fall-offs. Damn it. Lastly, I think we all know why this number was kept track of, to determine if Rogan held the most items or not. Not every game has the ability to hold, and even though we memed about it, I'm not counting Tor. When looking at the numbers, coming in with the least was Tanner with 0. I surprisingly did not notice a single item hold with him. Next, with me with only 1, yeah, also not a big holder. But with Hudson, he is, with total 50 items held. And then lastly, as you would expect, Rogan with the most, with 81 total items held. Let that soak in. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We have reached the conclusion of the first ever all-encompassing 13-game Mario Kart Championship. This 4-day-long, semi-serious competition started as a joke, but it eventually blew up into this friendship-altering, slime-filled, surprisingly intense and fun event. It goes without saying, but this entire thing was unscripted. All the insane finishes, the crazy item interactions, and all the funny blunders were real and just happened to occur on camera. With that said, I want to make it clear, everyone here is playing into a character. Don't take all the trash talk too seriously. We're all still very good friends. Just when everyone gets competitive like this, the combos get spicy. After home circuit finished, the guys all went their separate ways, but we did have to meet up one more time for the much anticipated award ceremony, where not only would the winner receive the solid gold Mario Kart trophy, but at the same time be crowned the best overall Mario Kart racer. Before that, I would like to ask you, the audience, to please consider supporting me with this channel via Patreon. Making super long form, heavily edited content like this requires support. If you enjoyed this over 7-hour long series of videos, or any of my others, and or want your name included in the credits, weekly channel updates, behind the scenes pictures and videos, and early video topic reveals, please check me out at patreon.com/recollect. I would really appreciate it. With that said, time to award the trophy.
That time, we've reached the end of the 13-game Mario Kart Championship, and it's now time to award Rogan the solid gold Mario Kart trophy. Even if the win's a bit on the dicey side, regardless, the numbers don't lie, a win's a win. But, before you accept, is there anything you want to say to the supporters, the naysayers out there?
I'd like to thank my biggest supporters, people who believe
Bro,
in me from the beginning.
save it. Now that this digital racing is behind us, how about we get to the real racetrack and see who the true kart racer really is? Let's go. Turns out, fat rip on this one. I guess we'll never know. Zero dramatic pause on that.
Yeah, what the hell?
There's talk of a potential Smash tournament in the future. Are you interested?
Yes.